The spears in the sky grew restless again, continuing to strike out 2 words. Exchange. Though the Lydian spear was an ancestral artifact, it wasn't foolish. It knew very well what it wanted. Exchange is possible, but there are a few conditions, Xiang Beifei calmly said. First, you lift the restriction of the mustard seed in palm, allowing me to leave here safely. You need to prevent Wu Yanwei and other ancestral Dao realm experts from pursuing me. The Lydian spear struck sharply. Agreed. Second, I take the 5-string qin, the ancestral artifact with 1 broken string outside. Not possible. On this point, the Lydian spear directly denied. This is a transaction. Impossible. We, opposite. The Lydian spear continued to strike. Its ability to express wasn't that smooth. Once the words needed to respond were too many, the spears in the sky became extremely noisy, and the tones drawn out long. Ancestral artifacts are opposed? Xiang Beifei pondered slightly, but it indeed made sense. Ancestral artifacts could devour one another. Being opposed seemed normal. Yet the 5-string qin earlier didn't give Xiang Beifei the powerful feeling as the Lydian spear did. Although it also relied on breath soil for nourishment, it maintained itself outside, while the Lydian spear had a grand hall for offerings, a different treatment. Xiang Beifei estimated that the Lydian spear was the leader of the Xin city's formation, with the 5-string qin perhaps only assisting. The Lydian spear's power was stronger than the 5-string qin, but it could not devour the broken 5-string qin, so the 2 currently lived in peace. All right, ignoring the 5-string qin for now, just handle the first condition, Xiang Beifei said. Give back first, the Lydian spear said. How will you guarantee? Who knows if after taking the fragments, you will turn and regret? Xiang Beifei asked. Strong and agitated waves emerged from the Lydian spear, seemingly feeling offended. Heavenly Dao acts according to rules. This time the strikes sounded very crisp, seemingly very annoyed. Do you act according to the rules? Xiang Beifei thoughtfully examined the Lydian spear. 1 heavenly Dao is a rule. Ancestral artifacts control the heavenly Dao. Their actions are the heavenly Dao, sounding quite reasonable. But Xiang Beifei wasn't so easily convinced. Though he also possessed ancestral artifacts, he remained skeptical about whether they truly acted honestly according to rules. Facing opponents stronger than himself, he required a guarantee. Let me see the path of the mustard seed in palm first, Xiang Beifei said. The Lydian spear showed extreme impatience yet still roared, and golden patterns lit up brightly on its dark spear body. The magnificent glow illuminating the entire hall, and the surrounding air seemed to be influenced by something solemn and solemn. It was a vast, ancient aura, in which everything seemed orderly, all acting according to established rules, none daring to cross the line. Buzz! A vibration spread out. In front of the Lydian spear appeared a mysterious scene. A cluster of darkness, chaotic and mysterious, as if the dawn of heavenly Dao, everything waiting to be created. In that darkness, a misty fog gradually emerged, appearing strange, like it could nourish everything, flourishing. Yet it was entirely confined by golden divine patterns. Xiang Beifei wasn't seeing these divine patterns for the first time. Both the Yu divine steel and Seeking would had such divine patterns. Soon the divine patterns suddenly split. The mysterious fog cautiously poked out from the void, then transformed into a stream of light, disappearing into the void. This was the heavenly Dao laws allowing the existence of the mustard seed in palm, always suppressed. Therefore the world lacked this law, meaning the world didn't allow the existence of something like mustard seed in palm. So no one from the human race had seen mustard seed in palm for so many years. Yet with the vanishing confinement of divine patterns, it meant there was a place in the world for it, and it could freely exist anywhere. Xiang Beifei realized something, extracting the mustard seed in palm cluster from the spirit gathering book. The original mustard seed in palm, like a soft mist, resembling cotton candy, could be shaped into any form. Besides being impervious to water and fire, spiritual power also failed to provoke its reaction. Yet after unlocking the heavenly Dao laws, attempting to connect with the other side again, a vague sense emerged in his mind. the sense naturally flowed, and the mustard seed in palm suddenly established a connection with him. This was his innate affinity with the mustard seed in palm, as if he was born capable of controlling it, incredibly harmonious. Rustle. The mustard seed in palm became lively, joyfully circling him, even imparting a profound power. With a thought, the previously misty mustard seed in palm became solid, gradually becoming extremely hard, that hardness not at all inferior to breath soil and refined iron. Yet this mustard seed in palm was still too small, and he knew he needed to gradually explore, like the time he nurtured breath soil, advancing step by step. Give back. The Lydian spear again struck out a sharp sound. You won't suppress the mustard seed in palm's heavenly Tao after I leave, will you? Xiang Beifei asked. Heavenly Tao acts according to rules. That's not certain. Freeing the mustard seed in palm means you can suppress it again. You are merely an ancestral artifact, still driven by someone stronger behind you, Xiang Beifei stated without hesitation. The fact that the Lydian spear could control the mustard seed in palm, this heavenly Tao, showed that it must have achieved this by devouring other ancestor artifacts in the past. In Xiang Beifei's view, the ancestor artifact that originally governed the mustard seed in palm, heavenly Tao, was likely in the hands of the human race, but they were defeated, resulting in the artifact being devoured by the Lydian spear, allowing it to control the mustard seed in palm. If he wanted the human race to completely control the mustard seed in palm, he had to grasp the control of this heavenly Tao. The Lydian spear appeared very irritable. No one had ever dared to negotiate with it like this before. What else do you want? Return the governing of the mustard seed in palm's heavenly Tao to me. Buzz. The Lydian spear was even more enraged. To return a heavenly Tao meant stripping away this law from itself, reducing its control by one. For an ancestor artifact, this was intolerable. After all, the more origins they devoured, the stronger they became. If the mustard seed in palm's heavenly Tao were to be stripped away, it would mean that, in the future, the Lydian spear could no longer restrain the mustard seed in palm. Xiang Beifei continued, I don't know how many ancestor artifacts you have devoured, but the heavenly Tao laws you can control must number in the thousands. The mustard seed in palm law is just a drop in the ocean for you. I think a single law is nothing compared to your entirety. Return it to me. I return fragments to you. It's a very profitable deal. The Lydian spear trembled. Yet this time it did not rage, as if contemplating and weighing this transaction. Xiang Beifei's words had indeed persuaded it. One law was nothing compared to its entirety. Fine. The Lydian spear trembled once more. Then its entire body lit up again with divine patterns. These patterns were extremely complex and mystical, dazzling to the eye, numbering no less than tens of thousands inscribed on its body. Subsequently, a single divine pattern peeled off from it, floating before Xiang Beifei. This divine pattern was unlike any Xiang Beifei had seen before or learned from the old giant spirit. So a single divine pattern represents a heavenly Tao? Xiang Beifei was quite surprised. If so, then does it mean the Yu Divine Steel is also an ancestor artifact? The Yu Divine Steel also has 77 divine patterns, which according to the old giant spirit, are the writings of the gods, special and powerful. It was the old giant spirit who taught him how to comprehend these patterns, advising against treating them like ordinary text, but rather to perceive them. The old giant spirit also mentioned Xiang Beifei had the Taoist body, and with each divine pattern comprehended, he would gain immense power. So, the old giant spirit had been guiding Xiang Beifei to understand the heavenly Tao laws all along. But now was not the time to ponder these things. He had to find a way to control this divine pattern. Trade! The Lydian spear shouted again. It was still firmly holding onto the divine pattern, not releasing it. Let go. You've trapped me. Afraid I'll renege, Xiang Beifei said. The Lydian spear was silent for a moment before finally releasing the pattern. A white light flashed in Xiang Beifei's hand, and the woofing broken sword was drawn from the spirit-gathering book. To subdue this divine pattern, naturally one must use an ancestor artifact to devour. Xiang Beifei wasn't sure how to control this divine pattern, but it was clear that woofing was. Buzz. But the moment Wu Feng was unsheathed, the Lydian spear instantly perceived and became more volatile. This was an opposing ancestor artifact. Whoosh! A terrifying murderous intent enveloped Xiang Beifei's side, and in the air, long spears appeared, making sharp piercing sounds, striking down towards Xiang Beifei. It attacked suddenly, with no warning. "Damn it! What are you doing?" Xiang Beifei shouted. The Lydian spear's terrifying aura wasn't to be trifled with. These spears were many times more powerful than the Zhang Yueshing. This was truly the power of the ancestral Dao realm. Xiang Beifei knew the Lydian spear would react, but he didn't expect it to attack outright. But just then, Wu Feng also emitted hostility, boldly confronting the Lydian spear. Without needing Xiang Beifei's hand, a strong sword intent swept out, slashing toward the Lydian spear. Boom! 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 Sword beams and spears clashed together, triggering terrible ripples, as if the void had been suddenly torn, causing everything to heat up. This was the first time Xiang Beifei witnessed Wu Feng's strength. Before, this broken sword had remained inactive, never once defending Xiang Beifei on its own, seemingly only springing into action by contending for the heavenly Dao against ancestor artifacts. Now Xiang Beifei realized the true destructive power he held in his hands. Boom! Aura scattered, erupting into radiant light, illuminating the void. Thankfully, Wu Feng's sword beams diverted the Lydian spear's force from Xiang Beifei's body. Otherwise, under such intense attacks, Xiang Beifei wasn't confident he'd survive. But the entire shrine was different. The explosive impact immediately destroyed the surrounding halls. Walls cracked open, vines shattered instantly, and all the Yellow Springs water even evaporated, the resentful spirits obliterated by the terrifying impact. Clang! The Wu Feng broken sword seemed weaker, instantly suppressed. Though it was an ancestor artifact, it was severely damaged compared to the Lydian spear, which only lost a fragment, while Wu Feng had lost half its blade. Yet it still didn't immediately fall, continuing to glare fiercely at the opponent while guarding Xiang Beifei. "Stop! Have you forgotten our transaction?" Xiang Beifei shouted at the Lydian spear. "I didn't move against you." The Lydian spear raged with spiritual power. Its target was always Wu Feng. Xiang Beifei hesitated not a moment, gripping Wu Feng. No matter the power Wu Feng was unleashing, once in Xiang Beifei's grasp, it was under his control, though its strong power vanished instantly. It felt as if Xiang Beifei wasn't worthy to wield such power. Unconcerned with much else, Xiang Beifei thrust Wu Feng at the divine pattern in the air. Buzz! As Wu Feng pierced the divine pattern, the pattern in the air suddenly emitted a glow, flowed, and transformed into a stream of light, disappearing into Wu Feng. Yet this action further infuriated the Lydian spear, causing it to roar. Roar! The Lydian spear appeared to explode with rage, as the heavenly Dao law it split off was consumed by an opposing ancestor artifact. The entire shrine erupted, ground cracked open, shaking Xi'an City. The disturbance it caused was massive, nearly alarming all cultivators. Outside Xi'an City, heaven and earth ranking competitions were fiercely ongoing, with several prodigies confronting each other on different arenas. There were heavenly ranking masters, as well as earth ranking masters, and their intense battles attracted countless spectators. But with the Lydian spear's wrath, the void was instantly shattered. The formations on those arenas were connected to Xi'an City's formation. The Lydian spear's fury directly affected these formations, which couldn't withstand the terrifying tremor and were destroyed. Buffed. Regardless of heavenly ranking talent or earth ranking talent, the geniuses on the arenas were caught unprepared by the Lydian spear's ancestral artifact fury, spat blood, and flew backward, nearly losing their lives. Even the cultivators spectating in Xi'an City were frightened to their cores, intimidated by the terrifying aura, collapsing into heaps, utterly shocked. Who dares make trouble here? In the air above the exploded hall, a figure appeared. It was Wu Yanwei. At this moment, Wu Yanwei was clearly shaken, having sensed the anomaly in the shrine earlier. But inexplicably, the Lydian spear sealed the shrine, preventing him from peering in. But now, with the shrines suddenly exploding, walls shattering, he immediately saw Xiang Beifei amidst the air. When Wu Yanwei saw Xiang Beifei, he was both shocked and furious, because at this moment, the Lydian spear became very irritable, and its roaring target was clearly Xiang Beifei. The Shi Altar Grand Hall could be called a forbidden place, usually guarded by the moon god race. Except for specific people, even elders at the inquiring Dao stage are not allowed to enter. Yet now, a stranger had appeared, and judging from the aura erupting from the Lydian spear, this guy was not one of their own. Looking for death. Without any hesitation, Wu Yanwei struck straight away. No matter what, he must first take down the opponent. Boom! The terrifying aura of the ancestral Dao realm pressed down towards Xiang Beifei, overwhelming like a deity who wished to annihilate this void, causing the entire Xin city to tremble under this majestic aura. Not good. In the moment Xiang Beifei saw Wu Yanwei appear, he knew it was a big problem. An expert of the ancestral Dao realm was absolutely not something he could withstand. Xiang Beifei immediately stuffed Wu Feng into the Spirit Gathering Book, completely isolating Wu Feng's aura with the Spirit Gathering Book, not wanting the Lydian spear to roar again. The fragment is here. Take me away. Xiang Beifei took out the fragment of the Lydian spear belonging to the Shun constellation. Now, he could only gamble on what the Lydian spear said. Heavenly Dao acts by the rules. Buzz. When the Lydian spear saw the stone fragment, its previously violent aura was suppressed, becoming extremely excited instead. After all, it was its own belonging fragment. As long as it could make itself whole, everything else didn't seem to matter anymore. Boom! Boom! The Lydian spear suddenly burst out with earth-shattering fluctuations, condensing into a force, blocking in front of Xiang Beifei, intercepting Wu Yanwei's attack at once. What the hell are you doing? Wu Yanwei didn't expect his attack to be blocked by the Lydian spear. Logically, he should be the controller of the Lydian spear. But this time the Lydian spear acted against him, defying his will, leaving him extremely shocked. However, for the sake of its fragment, the Lydian spear had to ensure Xiang Beifei's safety. Rumble! The spear, piercing through the entire Xin city, started to tremble, and the breath soil of the entire Xin city seemed unable to withstand such an immense power, cracks appearing everywhere, and many people began running towards the outskirts, fearing being affected by the terrifying power. Boom! The Lydian spear soared into the sky, wrapped around Xiang Beifei, arriving in the void. A divine rune flashed on its body, the golden divine law undulating slightly, directly opening a vortex in the air. This was a divine rune law controlling space teleportation. Stop! What are you doing? Wu Yanwei was furious and immediately chased up. His brown spiritual power surged, enveloping the breath soil, gathering in the air, turning the entire void into a sea of sand, completely wrapping the divine runes. Boundless territory, a very powerful trapping and killing technique of the Dao Palace, using breath soil to completely lock the void. No matter where one might try to escape, it's impossible to leave this area. But he quickly realized that his boundless territory was completely ineffective. All areas were sealed except for the area where the divine runes were. He couldn't seal that place. The vortex seemed like an unobstructed gate within boundless territory, and even he had no way to shut it. The power of the divine rune law of space teleportation far exceeded that of boundless territory. The aura of the Lydian spear was clearly more volatile. For the sake of its fragment, it already ignored Wu Yanwei's commands. The divine rune law also landed on Xiang Beifei. As soon as Xiang Beifei touched the vortex, he seemed to understand how to manipulate this divine rune law, a very powerful and terrifying teleportation array capable of transporting to any place he desired. As long as he had a clear outline of the destination in his mind, he could arrive instantly. But at this moment, the Lydian spear was not foolish, as it hadn't yet activated the teleportation capability, since the stone fragment was still in Xiang Beifei's hand. Here you go. Xiang Beifei didn't hesitate any longer and directly threw the stone fragment towards the Lydian spear. Whoosh! Whoosh! The dark spear of the Lydian spear emitted rays of golden light, countless divine runes appearing on its body, but the divine runes at the gap seemed cracked, those projections incomplete. Finally, the divine runes at the gap emitted waves of light, converging into tendrils in the air, instantly grabbing the Shin constellation fragment thrown by Xiang Beifei. The moment the fragment was seized, it melted all at once, like a fish entering the sea, perfectly matching the aura of the Lydian spear. Then this fragment also melted into streaks of divine runes, upon closer inspection, perfectly matching the divine runes of the gap of the Lydian spear. At this moment, the Lydian spear also transferred the control of the vortex to Xiang Beifei. Indeed, it was conducting itself according to the rules. Xiaohe, where are you and Li? Xiang Beifei called out in his mind. Here. 5-string qin. Xiaohe immediately shouted. Through his sense of Xiaohe, Xiang Beifei instantly saw the position of Xiaohe and Li Qianluo. During the earlier chaos, the two of them had already rushed to the vicinity of the 5-string qin, as the 5-string qin was also an ancestral weapon, unaffected by the external turmoil. He immediately rushed into the vortex, arriving instantly beside Li Qianluo. Xiao Bei, are you all right? Li Qianluo asked. I'm fine, let's go. Xiang Beifei didn't waste any more words. Grabbing Li Qianluo, preparing to dive into the vortex. Upon realizing his boundless territory couldn't block this teleportation vortex, Wu Yanwei immediately changed his approach. This Xin city was his territory, where he knew a great deal. To counter the heavenly Tao laws, one must rely on equivalent divine markings. Wu Yanwei waved his large hand suddenly, and breath soil swept across quickly. At that moment, the 5-string qin beside Xiang Beifei suddenly started to move, with the first string plucked by a powerful force. Ding! The sound of the qin was clear and captivating, swiftly flowing through the air, and visible ripples appeared as if giant waves were rolling. The sound of the qin enveloped Xiang Beifei and the others. At the same time, Xiang Beifei had already rushed into the vortex. He initially planned to rely on the vortex to teleport to a point miles away from Xin City. But when he emerged from the vortex, he found himself right in front of the 5-string qin. The space vortex did not take him away. What's happening? Isn't it supposed to teleport us anywhere? Xiaohe shouted. Li Qianluo thought of something and looked at the 5-string qin anxiously. It's the 5-string qin. It can also control the heavenly Tao laws. It forcibly changed the teleportation location to here. Think you can fight me? You're still too inexperienced. Wu Yanwei had just plucked the strings. He had the ability to manipulate the 5-string qin, forcibly teleporting them back. What kind of heavenly Tao laws is the 5-string qin using? It can actually change the teleportation destination. Xiaohe shouted. I'm not sure, Li Qianluo replied. At this moment, Wu Yanwei stepped forward, intending to capture Xiang Beifei. But suddenly, a terrifying fluctuation descended from the sky. Boom! The Lydian spear fell down, once again shaking Wu Yanwei away. It's aiding Xiang Beifei. Stop, Lydian spear! Wu Yanwei was furious beyond measure. After the Lydian spear had fused with that fragment, it had become as complete as before, its strength becoming even more terrifying. The rules that couldn't be perfectly unleashed earlier had consolidated, and its imposing aura was extremely powerful, overshadowing Wu Yanwei. The Lydian spear ignored Wu Yanwei's command, not only knocking him aside but also bombarding towards the 5-string qin below. It must help Xiang Beifei escape. Wu Yanwei suddenly realized. You made a deal? Wu Yanwei clearly knew the Lydian spear well, realizing what the spear was doing. When Xiang Beifei tossed out that fragment, he wondered why the Lydian spear would defy him and help an unknown outsider. On careful reflection, there's only one reason. As a master of countless heavenly Tao laws, the Lydian spear was acting according to heavenly Tao rules. Because Xiang Beifei's condition earlier was to unlock the restrictions on the mustard seed in palm, allowing Xiang Beifei to leave here safely. The Lydian spear needed to stop Wu Yanwei and other ancestral Tao realm powerhouses from pursuing him. Now, after receiving its fragment, the Lydian spear was carrying out its rules, stopping Wu Yanwei. The Lydian spear joining the battle undoubtedly relieved Xiang Beifei and the others from pressure, as they alone could not withstand Wu Yanwei's attacks. Go! Try once more. Xiang Beifei immediately ran towards the teleportation vortex. But Wu Yanwei's strength was also formidable. He was too familiar with the Lydian spear, knowing how to deal with its attacks. Although knocked away once, he was not overly restricted by the spear. He hurled out a spiritual power, plucking the second string of the 5-string qin. Dong! The strings of the 5-string qin produced strange sounds. Xiang Beifei suddenly noticed that the space around the teleportation vortex seemed twisted. The sound waves from the 5-string qin invisibly enveloped them in front, isolating them from the vortex. Obviously, they were just an inch away from the teleportation vortex, yet they couldn't get in. Not good, we can't get through, Xiaohe shouted. The unstrung qin was also an ancestral artifact. Even missing one string, it could unleash terrifying power in the hands of Wu Yanwei of the ancestral Dao realm. Such formidable heavenly Dao power was impossible for Xiang Beifei to surpass. This is a disaster. If they can't get near the vortex, they can't leave directly. Wu Yanwei chuckled coldly. Since it's a transaction, it's much easier. Heavenly Dao follows the rules, but it doesn't mean the Lydian spear has only one rule. It's devoured thousands upon thousands of heavenly Dao rules. He stopped attacking Xiang Beifei and ceased his actions. The Lydian spear only intercepts Wu Yanwei from pursuing Xiang Beifei. If Wu Yanwei no longer attacks Xiang Beifei, it won't attack Wu Yanwei either. Wu Yanwei was leveraging this. Swoosh! Wu Yanwei turned and stood above the Lydian spear, slapping his palm on its body. Buzz! On the Lydian spear's body, one after another divine marking appeared, constantly intertwining. Soon, a divine marking flew in front of Wu Yanwei, held in his hand. Have you ever heard of the heavenly Dao rule of breach of trust? Wu Yanwei looked at Xiang Beifei below, revealing a mock smile. Buzz! The divine markings in his palm glowed with golden light, gathering around him, covering the Lydian spear's body. The Lydian spear suddenly trembled. Its original intention to protect Xiang Beifei seemed to be disrupted, gradually getting replaced by a murderous intent, targeting Xiang Beifei. It's reneging. Far too treacherous, Xiaohe shouted. After all, the Lydian spear as an ancestral tool is still just a tool that acts according to heavenly Dao principles, naturally able to be controlled by principles used by the user. Wu Yanwei has more knowledge than anyone on how to utilize the principles of the Lydian spear. At this moment, the Lydian spear had been reforged by Wu Yanwei using the principle of breach of trust, meaning Xiang Beifei will face the siege of 2 ancestral tools, plus an ancestral Dao realm expert. What do we do now? Should we trade with the 5-string qin? Li Qianluo whispered. Xiang Beifei calmly watched the Lydian spear. Several thoughts flashed quickly in his mind. He still had 1 string in his hand, from the 5-string qin. But clearly, the principles of trading with the Lydian spear can be easily broken, so the 5-string qin is likely the same. As for Wu Fing, it acted earlier too, but it was not a match for the Lydian spear. Now, with the Lydian spear's power strengthened, it's even less likely that Wu Fing can deal with it. The situation is extremely dangerous. I'm curious about your origins, Wu Yanwei exclaimed coldly, this time unabashedly blasting towards Xiang Beifei. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, sand and dust filled the air. The sound of the qin reverberated, and terrifying force sealed the entire void. Even if an ancestral Dao realm powerhouse came, facing 2 powerful ancestral tools would be strenuous, let alone Xiang Beifei at the Inquiry Dao realm. This is probably the strongest battle formation all cultivators in Xin City have seen, with most never witnessing 2 ancestral tools displaying power simultaneously. Boom! Boom! Wu Yanwei flicked lightly, and the strings of the 5-string qin were plucked once more. This time the qin's sound surrounded Xiang Beifei and his companions. The air around them seemed to be solidified by the sound, trying to squeeze them. Meanwhile, the Lydian spear was preparing to retract the divine markings for space transmission, cutting off Xiang Beifei's escape route. Xiang Beifei's gaze focused. He didn't hesitate to summon 3 bricks. The power of 3 bricks was limited for him, given his current cultivation level. Even Ascension Realm experts could break away from the golden array markings of the bricks. But if not wielded by him, that's a different matter. 3 bricks were also ancestral artifacts. Dong! Dong! As they appeared, they immediately reacted to their kin. Without Xiang Beifei's control, a vast and magnificent aura spread from the 3 bricks. Buzz! Golden array markings, like ripples, began rapidly undulating centered on Xiang Beifei, seemingly traversing across time and space, enveloping the entire Xiyin city. Under these markings' envelope, the rhythm of the entire Xiyin city seemed to slow down. In everyone's perception, everything became extremely slow. Nothing could continue to grow. Whether it be the eerie Qin sounds or the rotating Lydian spear, they were flowing so sluggishly that they almost reached a standstill. The whole world seemed to be dragged into a slow rhythm by the board. In Xiang Beifei's eyes, the world slowed down, and when others blinked, he could clearly see the other person's eyelids closing and their eyelashes trembling. Even the process of wood splintering was crystal clear. The sound wave ripples that the 5-string Qin originally sent out, Xiang Beifei even felt that he could trace the patterns of these ripples. The wind was slow, the flowing water was slow, speaking was slow, even the sound itself slowed down. This feeling was not just experienced by Xiang Beifei. Everyone saw the world suddenly slow down. They were dragged into this realm, and it was impossible to speed up, as if they must follow this bizarre slow rhythm. But this slow rhythm seemed to have no benefit for Xiang Beifei. Since everyone became slower, relatively speaking, everyone remained at their own speed level and no one gained an advantage. Just then, the 3 blocks suddenly knocked again. Dong! It emitted a golden ripple, covering an area 2 meters in front of Xiang Beifei, and then Xiang Beifei was surprised to find that the time flow rate 2 meters in front seemed to have sped up. He believed this because in that area 2 meters away, the speed of the sound wave fluctuations from the 5-string Qin had clearly accelerated. The board seemed not only to slow down all regions, but it could also adjust the rhythm of different areas, speeding up this section while slowing down another. The differing rhythms in the 2 areas inevitably led to chaos. For example, waves in the ocean rolled one after another, but suddenly a wall stood in the middle of the rolling waves, separating them, causing the back wave to crash onto the wall, while the front wave lost momentum and rapidly diminished. The same situation had now occurred with the 5-string Qin. The 5-string Qin had been using sound waves to hinder Xiang Beifei. These sound waves were originally very orderly, one section following the other, relying on these interconnected patterns to exert great power, manipulating the small distance between Xiang Beifei and the teleportation vortex, preventing him from approaching the vortex. But the board disrupted the time rhythm in one area, meaning the rhythm of these sound waves also got messed up, instantly breaking the 5-string Qin's ability to obstruct Xiang Beifei's advance. However, Xiang Beifei himself did not immediately break free from the slow-paced area. His approach to the teleportation vortex was still as slow as a snail. The sudden strong aura emitted by the 3 blocks caught Wu Yanwei off guard. He did not expect Xiang Beifei to possess such a bizarre ancestral artifact. In terms of ability, this ancestral artifact controlled the heavenly Tao laws with extreme power, influencing the rhythm of this entire area. And the strangest thing was, because the rhythm in this area had slowed down, the Lydian spear seemed unable to immediately retract the spatial vortex. The spatial vortex was formed by a divine pattern. Being another ancestral artifact, the 3 blocks affected the speed at which the Lydian spear could retract the divine pattern. What kind of ancestral artifact is this? Wu Yanwei was extremely shocked. However, the impact brought by the 3 blocks did not last long, as the Lydian spear was also an ancestral artifact, and at this moment still a complete one with power no less potent than the 3 blocks. Swoosh! The Lydian spear quickly broke free from the slow domain created by the 3 blocks, its powerful edge descending from the sky, stabbing once more at Xiang Beifei. As a result, a very strange scene appeared before Xiang Beifei's eyes. As the Lydian spear descended, the slow-paced domain it passed through seemed like glass, being pierced piece by piece, and the time flow rate in the pierced area instantly returned to normal, while the areas not pierced remained sluggish. Xiang Beifei knew he couldn't wait any longer. He had to do something, otherwise, once the Lydian spear pierced all the slow-paced domains, he would be finished. Over here, the flow rate on this side of the vortex. Xiang Beifei shouted toward the 3 blocks. He didn't know if the blocks could understand, but considering that the Lydian spear could tap out sounds for communication, the 3 blocks should understand as well. Sure enough, the 3 blocks understood Xiang Beifei's meaning, and they knocked once again. Dong! The flow speed around Xiang Beifei completely returned to normal, and the spatial teleportation vortex had not yet been taken away. The ability of the 5-string Qin to obstruct his progress had already been broken by the blocks, and he was originally just an inch away from the spatial teleportation vortex. Now that this inch of obstacle was removed, he immediately grabbed Li Qianluo and rushed into the teleportation vortex. Upon entering the teleportation vortex, he also re-seized the 3 blocks, taking them with him. What left him frustrated was that as soon as he controlled the blocks, the vast and majestic power of the blocks instantly vanished, as if bad luck clung to his hands, similar to Wu Feng encountering disdain from the ancestral artifact. But fortunately, enough time had elapsed by this point, and the teleportation vortex immediately obeyed his command, taking him away. The ability of the blocks completely disappeared, and the entire Xin city returned to normal. There was no longer any need for the Lydian spear to pierce through the slow-paced domains, but by the time Wu Yanwei reached the teleportation vortex, Xiang Beifei was already gone. Trying to escape? No way! Wu Yanwei shouted coldly and patted the Lydian spear again. The Lydian spear instantly recalled the teleportation vortex. With just a slight discernment, he discovered the destination Xiang Beifei had teleported to. After all, he controlled the Lydian spear and the teleportation abilities of this world. Without any hesitation, Wu Yanwei immediately followed. Buzz! Stars shifted, and he was already standing on the city wall, directly facing the just-appeared Xiang Beifei and Li Qianluo. Oh no! That big scoundrel caught up, Xiaohe shouted. Humph! Do you think you can escape? The heavenly Tao laws of spatial teleportation are under the control of the Lydian spear. Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, you can't escape the palm of my hand. Wu Yanwei sneered continuously. The Lydian spear had shrunk to just 1 zhang in length, held in his hand. With a gentle shake, the golden divine patterns on the Lydian spear trembled again, sealing all the teleportation arrays of the entire world. In other words, every teleportation array in this world was rendered ineffective. This is why ancestral relics are so formidable. They can suppress the human race's mustard seed in palm, making it disappear from the world, and naturally, they can temporarily seal all teleportation arrays. Even if Xiang Beifei had left behind a backup plan here, he could no longer escape. But Wu Yanwei quickly discovered that Xiang Beifei wasn't panicking at all. He even seemed extremely calm. You actually followed me here? I'm a bit curious. Xiang Beifei said calmly as he stood there. Wu Yanwei frowned, suddenly feeling something was amiss. Was this guy bluffing him? Yet, for some unknown reason, a sense of crisis unexpectedly arose in Wu Yanwei's heart, and even the Lydian spear reacted. Xiaohe shouted towards the city wall at the top of his lungs. Uncle Melancholy, someone has broken in. Is there a guest? A sorrowful voice was heard from afar. As the voice arrived, the white-clad Kongqing had already appeared atop the wall. His expression still carried profound sadness, like a Confucian scholar worried about the nation and its people, with dense clouds of worry in his brows. He looked at the people in front of him with a touch of melancholy. When Wu Yanwei saw this middle-aged man appear, a strong sense of crisis spread throughout his heart, and he immediately turned his head to look to the right. It was a very strange city, with red lanterns hanging on the streets, very striking. Is this the city of no pretense? Wu Yanwei said in surprise. The city of no pretense, a very uncanny ghost town in the edge-corner airspace. It wanders everywhere, having no fixed place, like a rootless island drifting in the void. It is said that no one who enters this city comes out alive. The city's spookiness is such that even the Tao Palace dares not provoke it. As an elder of the ancestral Dao realm from the Dao Palace, Wu Yanwei knew very well what the city of no pretense meant. You actually chose to teleport here. Wu Yanwei's heart sank. Of course, if we're to die, we'll die together. Xiang Beifei shrugged. He knew he couldn't use the teleportation vortex to teleport to the human race, or else the location of the human race would be exposed. He also couldn't teleport to the crane race, as it would implicate others. The only destination he could think of was the city of no pretense. Haha, you're not that dumb. This is indeed the city of no pretense. Uncle, quickly capture him, Xiaohe boasted. But Kongqing didn't move. He merely shook his head sorrowfully and said softly, I cannot capture him. Xiaohe asked puzzledly. Huh? But didn't Uncle Melancholy say even ancestral Dao realms find it hard to leave the city of no pretense? Kongqing sighed. I've never stopped anyone from entering or leaving this city. What traps them is not the city, but themselves. It was still the same phrase. Yet it was precisely this phrase that sent a shiver down Wu Yanwei's spine. Without any hesitation, he immediately grasped the Lydian spear, turned around to leave this treacherous place. However, an eerie aura abruptly emanated from the city, firmly suppressing Wu Yanwei. Wu Yanwei deeply sensed something amiss because an unusual scene appeared in his mind. Before he knew it, he found himself on the main street of Kongqing. Then Kongqing seemed to suddenly give rise to strange illusions. All the doors lining the streets flung open, and countless shadows emerged, comprising numerous members of the human race, along with innumerable tribesmen, some with amputated hands or feet, some torn in half. Each shadow appeared incredibly tragic, as if they had crawled out of hell, moaning and howling in pain, advancing toward Wu Yanwei. Wu Yanwei roared in anger, and the spiritual power in his body began to tremble, attempting to obliterate them. However, he didn't anticipate that, in this place, his spiritual power had no effect, simply passing through these bodies. Damn this ghost place! Wu Yanwei seemed to realize the might of these shadows, so he immediately grasped the Lydian spear, intending to sweep them away. But as the Lydian spear swept over these figures, it passed right through them as if they were mere illusions with no substance. More and more shadows rushed out, surrounding Wu Yanwei. Soon, a wolfman with half his head torn off lunged at Wu Yanwei, starting to bite, leaving a bloody mark on Wu Yanwei's body. Wu Yanwei was shocked and furious. As a master of the ancestral Dao realm, his defense was top-notch even if he stood still and let Xiang Beifei chop at him. Xiang Beifei might not be able to leave a mark on him. Yet, unexpectedly, the monsters here were so formidable, one bite tearing a wound. Blood flowed from Wu Yanwei, anger and shock flooding him as he desperately tried to push these figures aside to flee, but increasingly more shadows pounced on him, clawing him until his head was battered and bleeding. Screaming in agony, for the first time in a lifespan spanning innumerable years, he was dealt such a humiliating wound. Just you wait. I'll wipe out your entire clan. He roared furiously, and the spiritual power inside him suddenly exploded. Boom! Wu Yanwei's entire body directly detonated, turning into streaks of golden light spreading like blossoming evolution. The terrifying golden light enveloped the entire Kongqing. This streak of golden light was so vast that, if in Xi'an City, it would have been enough to reduce Xi'an City to ashes. Yet inside the Kongqing, everything remained unharmed. Even the fierce shadows on the street didn't have a strand of their clothes flutter. Those scars-riddled shadows began to walk toward various doors in the street, soon returning everything to its usual tranquility as if nothing had happened. Xiaohe asked, Uncle Melancholy, is that Dao Palace villain dead? Kongqing shook his head. But Uncle in White, how could you let him escape? Xiaohe asked, puzzled. I never intended to trap him, so how could there be talk of letting him escape? Kongqing said softly. But I thought you said very few people could get out? Xiaohe asked again. Very few doesn't mean none, Kongqing replied. After a moment, he continued softly. Everyone has their own Kongqing. They get lost in their past, fear their past, unable to accept it, so they end their own lives. This person named Wu Yanwei evidently knew only by ending his life could he leave here. Xiang Beifei and Xiaohe exchanged glances. I don't understand. So is he dead or not? Giggled Xiaohe. Kongqing shook his head. But I thought you said very few can escape? Xiaohe asked again. With a faint sigh, Kongqing replied. I did say it was rare, but rare does not mean never. Then he added softly, in the presence of heavenly laws, ending a life has never meant death in its true sense of the word. Xiang City, Dao Palace Grand Hall. Here stands a huge sacrificial altar, entirely condensed from golden breath soil, which radiates golden light. The breath soil on the altar is not static. All the sand is flowing, with faint flashes of formation patterns appearing within. Suddenly, the sand in the center of the altar swelled up, and blood-red light beams emerged from it, quickly forming a human figure. At a closer look, it was the appearance of Wu Yanwei. However, at this moment, Wu Yanwei does not have a human appearance. His soul is in the form of breath soil, unable to take human form. Unforgivable! Wu Yanwei was furious beyond measure. He was fully aware of the dangers of the city of no pretense. This strange city not under Dao Palace's control, which many elders entered never to return. He almost ended up like them. If it weren't for his contingency plans, even his ancestral artifact would have been left behind. Yet, he didn't return to Xian City, for it was evidently in chaos. His current location was in Xiang City. At this moment, the Lydian spear had returned to tranquility, standing at the altar's center like an unassuming ordinary spear, with no fluctuations emanating. Who exactly is that person? Wu Yanwei asked the Lydian spear. But the Lydian spear remained unmoved, ignoring Wu Yanwei. At this point, the Lydian spear had evidently exceeded Wu Yanwei's control range, its power stronger than Wu Yanwei's current state. Wu Yanwei was not worthy of controlling it. This made Wu Yanwei even more resentful. Although he had escaped, his soul was unstable, making it impossible to leave the altar, and his cultivation was almost severely damaged. Reincarnation is no simple task. In his current state, recovery could take centuries, even millennia. Fortunately, to an ancient monster like him who has lived countless years, a millennium is but a blink of an eye. In millennia, I will restore my ancestral Dao realm. When I recover, I will make you pay in blood. Wu Yanwei spat. He could confirm that the intruder was only at the Inquiry Dao realm and, despite possessing an ancestral artifact, could not wield its power. During the Heaven and Earth ranking tournament, choosing not to engage with geniuses meant this person was certainly not on the ranking. His cultivation was at least over 3,000 years. Even given a millennium, it would be impossible to reach the ancestral Dao realm. So, after a millennium, he intends to make this guy pay the price. City of no pretense. Xiang Beifei still stood on the wall, contemplating the earlier events. Xiaohe spoke regretfully. It's a pity. We thought we could deal with an ancestral Dao realm expert, but he got away. It won't be as easy to kill him next time. It's okay. There will always be opportunities in the future. Xiang Beifei replied. Li Qianluo cautiously tugged at Xiang Beifei's sleeve from behind, quietly saying, Xiao Bei, can you ask this uncle if I will end up like the Dao Palace person? It was also her first time in the city of no pretense. Even the ancestral Dao realm Wu Yanwei had faltered here, making it hard for her to stay uninvolved. Let me handle it. I have a good relationship with Uncle Melancholy. Xiaohe very loyally turned his head and said, Sad uncle, Sister Li is one of us. Is there a way for her to leave safely? Kongqing turned his gaze toward Li Qianluo, speaking in a melancholic tone. I cannot prevent anyone from entering or leaving the city. Does she also have to experience what just happened? Xiang Beifei held onto Li Qianluo, lest she fall into the city. Kongqing paused for a moment, then suddenly showed a mysterious smile. Do you know why this place is called the City of No Pretense? Supposedly, it's said that those who enter might accidentally kill someone they are connected with. Those people seem to suffer calamity without cause. Xiang Beifei speculated uncertainly. Yes and no. As long as there is a connection, they will be implicated, but they can also gain protection. If she has a connection with you, you can take her out because you have the ability to leave. Kong Qing said quietly. Xiang Beifei and Li Qianluo exchanged glances. Xiaohe asked puzzledly, "What kind of connection are we talking about?" Yumong suddenly popped out from Xiang Beifei's pocket, innocently asking, "Is it the kind where, as Era said, a man and a woman fight for a quilt at night?" Li Qianluo's eyes widened instantly. You little rascal, you've been corrupted by Era," she said with her hands on her hips. Xiang Beifei couldn't help but burst into laughter. "What are you laughing at? You can't be thinking about that too," Li Qianluo said angrily. "What an airhead." Xiang Beifei shrugged his shoulders, suddenly raising an eyebrow at Li Qianluo, saying, "That's exactly what I was thinking, and wouldn't you have to agree? Do you have any choice?" You, damn it." Li Qianluo was at a loss for words, rolling her eyes. Xiang Beifei couldn't be bothered with her, instead bowing toward Kong Qing. "Thank you, senior. No need. I'm just idling around, occasionally getting involved in these matters as a diversion." Kong Qing smiled. Xiang Beifei wasn't in a rush to leave. He comfortably sat on the wall, took out 3 pieces of stone bricks, and then brought out Wufing, carefully examining it. Strangely enough, when both Wufing and 5 pieces of stone encountered the ancestral artifact Lydian spear, they were at daggers drawn, but usually they were very calm with each other. Normally, they should also be in an adversarial relationship, but I've never seen them fight. Instead, they coexist harmoniously, and Xiang Beifei can even use the formation patterns in Wufing's sword aura, mixed with brick, to defend against enemies. Xiang Beifei tapped Wufing with a brick, then tapped the brick with Wufing's broken sword. Both sides clattered loudly, but it was just noise. Neither burst forth with a sky-shattering momentum. "Are you giving me face, or not?" Xiang Beifei felt quite helpless. Perhaps they don't argue because of him, but clearly having such strong abilities, they just won't let him manifest them. This feeling is like holding 2 supernuclear bombs in hand, but unfortunately lacking the activation code. However, 5 pieces of stone's capability gave Xiang Beifei a new understanding. Usually, he would just rely on the brick to immobilize others, but back in Sheen City, the power released by 3 pieces of brick was able to slow down the rhythm of a region, and even control the speed in different areas. This was just the case with 3 pieces of brick. What would happen if there were 2 more pieces? Xiang Beifei knocked on the brick, watched the golden formation patterns flash by, and couldn't help but wonder what might happen with 5 pieces of stone. But he only thought about it for a moment before moving on, because he's not in the ancestral Dao realm, and the ancestral relic doesn't give him face. This time in Sheen City he saved many people. Although Shin Constellation's broken stones were taken away, at least he retrieved the heavenly Dao laws of mustard seed in palm. Mustard seed in palm is a very significant thing, similar to breath soil. It's a sacred artifact in Edge Corner airspace resisting void power. It's like a vital resource upon which all races rely for survival. To gain such a resource is to rule the world. The Dao Palace relies on breath soil to firmly grasp the lifeblood of every race. With mustard seed in palm, the human race would essentially have its own survival resource, and also the capital to contend against the Dao Palace. Xiang Beifei took out mustard seed in palm, scrutinizing it, finally having the time to thoroughly ponder it. Previously, the heavenly Dao laws of mustard seed in palm were sealed, and no matter how he communicated, this thing never responded. Now, mustard seed in palm's divine patterns have merged into Wufing, and he can already control it. Actually, mastering mustard seed in palm isn't difficult for him, as he's already nurtured breath soil, and the cultivation methods for both are actually quite similar. Even to Xiang Beifei, mastering mustard seed in palm is more effortless. Indeed, human things are still more fitting for humans. Looking at this nurtured cluster of mustard seed in palm, Xiang Beifei saw it as large as a millstone, resembling a cloud yet solid. He could easily stand atop in a manner akin to floating on clouds. The surrounding void power was repelled by this mustard seed in palm, its devouring ability blocked outside, unable to approach. Since ancient times, humans have had legends of riding clouds. turns out this wasn't baseless. They could do it all along. Only this ability was stripped away by the Tao Palace long ago. The shape of mustard seed in palm is unique too. Able to become extremely hard from ethereal, the degree of hardness rivals breath soil. If the quantity of mustard seed in palm is sufficient, various constructions can be built using breath soil. In this way, the human race could construct its own Yunding Tiangong. Just imagine how awesome that would be. Xiang Beifei explored mustard seed in palm, planning to first grasp its capabilities, then return to Kangji Abyss to teach everyone the nurturing method, allowing Luo Shanyu and Fu Yuzi to learn quickly too so the human race would have basic assurance. While he was exploring mustard seed in palm, on the other side Li Qianluo was lost in thought. That guy actually said that to me just now. So infuriating. Li Qianluo held a stick, angrily poking the city wall, treating the wall as Xiang Beifei, and venting her frustration. She couldn't help but glare once more at Xiang Beifei in the distance, who was immersed in exploring mustard seed in palm, pouting and muttering. Xiaohe transformed back into a child's appearance, sitting beside Li Qianluo, tilting his head and asking, "Sister Li, why is your face red?" "No, it's not," Li Qianluo replied. "That's right, I saw it. Era told me that if someone's face turns red, it's either shy or constipated." Yuzmeng, sitting on Xiaohe's shoulder, spoke very straightforwardly. Li Qianluo rolled her eyes and said, "Then just take me for constipated." Yuzmeng scratched his little tree branch hands on his head and said, "You shouldn't be constipated. When Era was greedy for spirit stones, it often got constipated, and I'm very familiar with that look. You're not like Era. Are you thinking about the tussle over the blanket with Feifei?" Xiaohe teased. Li Qianluo huffed. "Nonsense. Actually, I feel Sister Li and Feifei are quite compatible. People look beautiful, have kind hearts, and high talents. If you like Feifei, just say it," Xiaohe said. "Like the head. I would never like that big dummy," Li Qianluo said testily. Xiaohe's eyes twirled craftily, saying you like or don't like with your mouth is useless. Let me analyze it for you." Li Qianluo raised an eyebrow. "You little dum-dum know how to analyze?" Yuzmeng beside her spoke excitedly. He does. Xiaohe said he's skilled in the 36 hexagrams of love, specializes in measuring marriages, and even got a matchmaker certificate validated by Jojo. They say it's very powerful. In Yuzmeng's eyes, Jojo is a magical place. Whatever they endorse must be first-rate. Li Qianluo suspiciously eyed Xiaohe. 36 hexagrams of love? Xiaohe pounded his chest, assuring, "Yes, I'm very accurate in Jojo. Let me calculate it for you. First, I'll ask you a few questions. Why do you like to follow Feifei around?" "Because I'm bored." "How coincidental. Feifei often feels bored and causes trouble. See how many cities he's messed with, showing you have common interests." Li Qianluo. Xiaohe asked again, "What's your favorite color?" Li Qianluo casually said, "I like red. Coincidentally, Feifei likes purple. If you two were together, the future life would be filled with blossoms, vibrant and colorful." Li Qianluo. She immediately corrected herself. "I said wrong. I like yellow." "That's even better. A yellow stamen supporting 1,000 buds. A purple calyx heralding 10,000 flowers. You two are like a yellow pistil and purple calyx, complementary. If this isn't compatible, heaven won't allow it," Xiaohe praised, giving a thumbs up. Li Qianluo wore a stunned expression. She gritted her teeth and said, "Tell me, what else does he like besides purple?" Let me think, maybe white. Like my kind of white," Xiaohe said. "Ha! I happen to like black," Li Qianluo couldn't wait to say, looking quite proud. Xiaohe admired. "That matches even more. 3,000 great Daos originate from chaos, yin and yang, black and white, giving birth to all things. Where there's black, there's white. Have you seen Feifei's yin and yang source energy? Maintaining a balance of black and white releases powerful strength. If you two were together, you might be unbeatable. Xiao Bei once ate bitter olives. I just don't like them. I like sweet things." Life is like olives. You can bear bitterness, you can savor sweetness. Only after bitterness comes sweetness. That's life. This is destiny. No matter what Li Qianluo said, Xiaohei with the gift of gab could always pull it off masterfully, with logic and evidence, leaving Li Qianluo temporarily without a point to refute. What a slick talker Xiaohei was, quick-witted and glib, who knows where he learned it. Completely defeated by you. Li Qianluo rubbed her forehead. Whenever I perform heroically, Fei likes to say that about me too. He also enjoys rubbing his forehead. Your common traits add up to 2. Xiaohei said, hands on his hips. Li Qianluo. She gritted her teeth and took her hand off her forehead, realizing nothing she did was right. Look, you two are so fated. If not together, it'll be hard to explain. Xiaohei stretched lazily, smiling. Li Qianluo was left dumbfounded by Xiaohei's words. Her mind was now filled with those seemingly sensible words of Xiaohei's, making it seem like fate was indeed predetermined and Xiang Beifei being a rogue somehow felt right. Damn it! Damn it! Her heart pounded as she picked up a stick and started poking at the city wall with a clunk clunk clunk. But on second thought, she wasn't really repulsed by Xiang Beifei. Though this guy was sometimes punch-worthy, his temperament was quite agreeable. Could it be that master was right? Is that person really Xiao Bei? Li Qianluo couldn't help but recall the words her master said to her before she came out. She propped her chin on her hand and began to ponder her master's meaning. If it really is Xiao Bei, then what should I do? What should I do? Li Qianluo muttered. At this moment, Xiang Beifei walked over to them, extending a hand towards Li Qianluo, saying, Let's go, we should head back. I'll take you out. Li Qianluo was originally lost in thought. Startled by Xiang Beifei's voice, she jumped up and shouted, Don't be a rogue, whether you like it or not. I don't like it. Xiang Beifei felt a bit baffled, asking in confusion, What are you talking about? Li Qianluo then realized her loss of composure, snorted, and turned her head aside. It's nothing. I was saying you look handsome today. Wasn't I handsome yesterday? Xiang Beifei asked, puzzled. Li Qianluo. Xiaohei chuckled mischievously. I was giving her a reading. Xiang Beifei shrugged his shoulders, saying, Whatever, are you coming or not? If not, I'm going ahead. You can stay behind and do as you please. Li Qianluo reluctantly grabbed Xiang Beifei's hand, then suddenly remembered something and squeezed his finger hard. This guy's hand. It really has Xun Li's warmth. Li Qianluo's mind began to wander again. But Xiang Beifei didn't bother with it. He just waved goodbye to Kongqing and left the city of no pretense. He didn't plan to go to Xin City afterwards. As for the heaven and earth ranking competition, it didn't matter to him. He would wait until they sorted out the rankings and then go to kick the list. Next time, he wanted to dominate both the heavenly ranking and earth ranking. It would piss them off terribly. Regarding Common Valley, he wasn't ready to go there yet. At least he needed to raise his cultivation to the Ascension realm first. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the confidence. Not every time could he luck into being transported to the city of no pretense to handle ancestral Dao realm experts. Upon returning to Extremity Abyss, Xiang Beifei immediately arranged for the human race people rescued from Xin City. These people had been imprisoned for a long time, forced to sacrifice blood to the formation daily, like tools, the repeated torment causing many to mentally break down. While Xiang Beifei could heal physical injuries, the mental trauma would require gradual soothing, and he didn't have the energy to handle it. The task of psychological counseling was given to the idle Xiaohei, who knew a lot and could talk well, making him a pro at encouraging people. Then, he gathered Elder Fu Yuzi and Luo Shanyu to inform them about the mustard seed in palm. Mustard seed in palm? Fu Yuzi and Luo Shanyu were quite astonished to learn about the mustard seed in palm's cultivation ability. You found the mustard seed in palm? Fu Yuzi asked excitedly. Yes. I got it along the way when rescuing people. Xiang Beifei said. Fu Yuzi and Luo Shanyu exchanged glances. You promised me you wouldn't take risks, Luo Shanyu said sternly. Xin City, to them, was a forbidden zone for the human race, and none of them dared to go there. However, the affair concerning the heaven and earth ranking competition was spreading like wildfire, Even if they didn't dare go, they knew what happened in Xin City. They had vaguely understood that perhaps this was related to Xiang Beifei. I also promised to live well. Xiang Beifei shrugged his shoulders, saying, "And I'm living now." The human race couldn't sit and wait to die. Some things had to be done by someone. Luo Shanyu sighed but quickly cheered up again. Although Xiang Beifei's actions were always unpredictable, at least the mustard seed in palm was retrieved. This was undeniably great news for the human race. They no longer wanted to ask how Xiang Beifei got into Xin City and came out safely. Anyway, now Xiang Beifei was full of endless possibilities, and always brought them surprises, so retrieving the human race's mustard seed in palm was perfectly normal. Fu Yuzi and Luo Shanyu immediately started cultivating the mustard seed in palm according to Xiang Beifei's guidance. Perhaps because the mustard seed in palm was originally a divine artifact of the human race, cultivating it wasn't too difficult for them. With Fu Yuzi's ascension-level cultivation, he stimulated the growth for an hour to extend the mustard seed in palm by an inch, meaning to cultivate a 10-foot mustard seed in palm, it would take only about 8 or 9 days. This pace didn't seem fast, but considering the value of breath soil, it was actually quite satisfying. It's worth noting that He Qing, ranked 188th on the Earth ranking, managed to gather only 13 feet of earth over a decade. The entire crane race had existed for over 1,000 years in edge-corner airspace, and could only muster about 300 feet of breath soil with their combined efforts. Yet Fu Yuzi could grow a 10-foot mustard seed in palm in 8 or 9 days, which was remarkably swift, and he wasn't the only one cultivating the mustard seed in palm in the human race. Luo Shanyu's cultivation was post-inquiring Dao, so he's relatively slower, requiring roughly 2 hours to grow an inch. Of course, the immortal realm was even slower, probably needing to be discounted further, as after all, the mustard seed in palm was a divine artifact, making ancestral Dao realm cultivation more efficient for growth. As for those below the immortal realm, they can be directly ignored. Let them continue with their cultivation peacefully. There's no need for them to get involved in this matter. Currently, the entire human race has only one master at the Ascension realm, Fu Yuzi, 9 experts at the Inquiry Dao realm, and 21 experts at the immortal realm. A portion of these people needs to be assigned to nurture the mustard seed in palm, while the rest must continue to comprehend Xiang Beifei's Dao embryos and elevate their cultivation levels. Of course, Xiang Beifei's speed in nurturing the mustard seed in palm is much faster. He possesses more skill in controlling the mustard seed, and his speed surpasses that of nurturing breath soil by a considerable margin. Although his cultivation isn't higher than Fu Yuzi's, his speed in nurturing is 10 times faster than Fu Yuzi's. He is quite familiar with such things. Even the most basic mustard seed in palm came from the Spirit Gathering book. He attempted it and found that he could nurture a Zhonglong mustard seed in palm in about 10 hours. Xiang Beifei plans to spend some time nurturing more of the mustard seed in palm, so the human race has the most basic assurance. The more he understands the ancestor tools, the more he realizes the terrifying nature of such things. It can forcibly erase something from the world completely. Even Xiang Beifei couldn't do anything about it. Therefore, why the edge-corner airspace could be controlled by the Dao Palace becomes understandable. They must have controlled a lot of the heavenly Dao laws. If any race wants to resist, they can entirely rely on the ancestor tools to erase them from the world. Luckily, the heavenly Dao laws for human survival are not in their hands. Otherwise, the human race might not exist in the edge-corner airspace. Xiang Beifei couldn't help but ponder. The Lydian spear could suppress the mustard seed in palm, which naturally also means it could erase a race with the heavenly Dao laws. In Xiang Beifei's view, the drastic decline of such a powerful race as the human race back then might have had much to do with the ancestor tools. Maybe it was because of the heavenly Dao laws that were closely related to the interests of the human race being consumed by the opponent's ancestor tools, resulting in a significant loss of fighting power for the human race, and the mustard seed in palm was undoubtedly not the only factor. Xiang Beifei was not familiar with the heavenly Dao laws owned by the Lydian spear, but the most memorable one for him was betrayal and treachery. If, during the battle, the opponent used the Lydian spear to perfectly exploit the law of betrayal and treachery, making those fighting together turn against each other, then it would be impossible to win. The human race must have been caught by the Dao Palace through some flaw, suffering losses related to the ancestor tools, which led to such a mighty race ending up hiding in fear. But fortunately, the heavenly Tao laws prohibiting the existence of the human race are probably not in the hands of the Tao Palace. Otherwise, the human race would have been exterminated long ago. So, it's very likely to be with Xiang Beifei. Is it the little broken sword? Or the little brick? Xiang Beifei has been pondering this matter these days. Now that he has learned about the abilities of the ancestor tools, many things seem to make sense. Perhaps, Taoist Qingde ran into trouble while trying to find the heavenly Tao laws that suppress the rise of the human race. Then the heavenly Tao laws ensuring the existence of the human race are very likely still with him, either with Wufeng or the 5 pieces of stone. It seems that to deal with the Tao Palace, it must start with the ancestor tools. The ancestor tools control the heavenly Tao laws, and whoever possesses the ancestor tools possesses the world. Xiang Beifei wants to help the human race rise and win this war, and the key point inevitably lies with the ancestor tools. So, the first thing he must do is find the broken sword body of Wufeng and the remaining 2 pieces of bricks. Only in this way can he make the ancestor tools complete and contend with the Tao Palace. Of course, most importantly, he must reach the ancestral Tao realm soon. Otherwise, with his current strength, even holding 2 ancestor tools would still cause them to disdain him. Xin City was destroyed because of the wrath of 4 ancestor tools. The successive fury of 4 ancestor tools caused massive destruction. The arenas originally provided for those genius battles were linked with the formations of Xin City, and now that Xin City is destroyed, all the arenas are also rendered ineffective, which forced the heaven and earth ranking contest to be halted. Numerous races were bewildered by the sudden occurrence, as Xin City, in their eyes, was a holy land, being one of the 3 main cities of the Tao Palace, where no chaos had occurred in 10,000 years, and where nobody dared to act recklessly. But who could have imagined that not long after the spotlight contest had just begun, this holy city was blasted into pieces? Everyone was debating what exactly had happened. To eradicate a holy city in such a manner was utterly astounding, and just what kind of power could achieve such a feat? For the high levels of the Tao Palace, not only was this not a loss, but it was a significant gain. Because the Lydian spear became complete. A complete Lydian spear means a more formidable strength. At this moment, in the depths of the edge-corner airspace, an endless void, a realm of gray, golden rays of light emerged in the sky, slowly circulating, with everything in that void seemingly twisted, forming golden clouds of auspicious light in a highly mystic manner. Wu Yanwei was seriously injured. Who exactly did it? Was there no clue left behind? The voice belonged to a man, distant and ethereal, as if it traversed the vastness of time and space, stirring the soul. Only his voice was heard, but he was not seen. Not sure, but definitely, it's a human race, responded a woman with a magnificent voice, tinkling like celestial music. Human race. The man's voice wavered slightly, seeming very grave. It's impossible for a human race to enter Xin City. The blood ground is forged by sacrificing the souls of millions of the human race. Any human would be detected, he said. But according to feedback from the heavenly spear, this intruder made a deal with it. Deal? The other party obtained a fragment of the heavenly spear. Then how can you be sure he is human? Because the content of the deal was about the divine pattern of the mustard seed in palm. He asked the heavenly spear to exchange this law of the heavenly Tao. Mustard seed in palm. The man seemed very enraged. The existence of the mustard seed in palm is unknown or unimportant to most races, but only the human race absolutely needs this mustard seed in palm. Obviously, exchanging heavenly spear fragments for the mustard seed in palm, it could only be the human race. Yes, the divine pattern of the mustard seed in palm has already been taken. The other party also brought 2 ancestral artifacts. From what happened then, it should be Wufeng and 5 pieces of stone. Only they could accomplish such a feat. Are you sure? The man's voice suddenly changed tone, losing its ethereal quality, and gaining a hint of gravity. Could it be him? These 2 items, their original owner, they both knew. It shouldn't be, you must know. The blood ground is specifically targeted at Wufeng. He couldn't have entered unnoticed. The 2 fell silent, deep in a prolonged contemplation. After a long while, the man spoke again. Any news of him? You mean Wu Feng? No. Then you mean Wu Feng's son? Yes, the man said sternly. The woman paused and said, No. Is it possible it's him? Hard to say, but a few years ago Wu Feng's son entered Xin City, and we discovered him. He didn't have that capability. We can't rule out that he found a loophole to sneak in, perhaps using an ancestral artifact to avoid the blood ground, the man said. It shouldn't be Wu Feng's son. Wu Yanwei mentioned that the opponent was only at the Inquiry Dao realm cultivation, absolutely unable to wield the power of Wu Feng's sword and the 5 pieces of stone. An Inquiry Dao realm cultivator, able to sneak in and destroy Xin City. What on earth is Wu Yanwei doing? The man seemed extremely furious. Noble Xin City, with a powerful ancestral Dao realm expert overseeing it, and over a dozen Ascension realm elders, along with countless Dao Palace experts maintaining order. Yet an Inquiry Dao realm practitioner slipped in and blew up the city. This was a blatant slap in the face to the Dao Palace. How he sneaked in no longer matters. What we need to consider is, who exactly is this Inquiry Dao realm guy? The two lapsed into silence once more. They were pondering this question. But soon the woman spoke again. Although the divine pattern of the mustard seed in palm was taken, at least the heavenly spear is complete now. A complete heavenly spear is no simple matter. The woman chuckled softly, her voice melodious like pearls and jade falling on a plate. A complete heavenly spear will rise a level in power. For them, destroying a city in exchange for a complete ancestral artifact is entirely acceptable. A blessing in disguise. White clouds floated in the void, leisurely and serene. From a distance, there were at least a dozen floating clouds, each spanning dozens of feet, upon which houses were built, constructed from the clouds themselves, simple and unadorned, yet full of vitality. On one of these clouds, children could be seen running about, stepping on the clouds and chasing each other. The clouds were irregular, undulated like little hills, rising 1 or 2 meters. A few children started playing hide and seek, shouting excitedly, then diving headfirst into the clouds, embracing them to cover themselves, hiding within the cloud layers. A little boy, as exquisite as carved jade, hopped around in the clouds, reached into the white clouds, and soon pulled several children out. Xiaohei, you're so good. I hid so well, yet you still found me. Next time, I'll hide deeper. The found children giggled, sitting on the clouds, swinging their little feet, chattering away. However, Xiaohei obviously hadn't found everyone yet. His big, bright eyes searched around. His ears twitched suddenly, and he pulled apart a bulging white cloud, shouting, I found you! The white cloud, like cotton candy, was torn apart to reveal a small head made of elm wood. Yu Meng was crouching inside that cloud, covering his eyes with his tiny hands, muttering softly, You can't see me, you can't see me. I can hear you. Xiaohei flicked Yu Meng's forehead. Doesn't count, I didn't hide well. Yu Meng lowered his hands and crawled out of the cloud, looking disappointed. Haha. If you stayed quiet while hiding, it would have been better, Xiaohei said. Right, where's Era? I didn't see him. Yu Meng stood on the cloud, looking around. Xiaohei ran around the cloud and suddenly saw a particularly round cloud looking out of place. He smirked and ran over, kicking it with his foot. Thud! The cloud was kicked apart, revealing a round bottom. Ow! Era jumped out from the cloud, rubbing his backside, wincing. Who told you to kick my butt? Era shouted. Who told you to hide in the cloud with your butt sticking out? Xiaohei laughed heartily. Era pouted, rolling over the cloud. And Sister Li, I haven't seen her, Yu Meng said. She's the best at hiding, definitely digging tunnels in the clouds. Let me see. Xiaohei leaped high, somersaulted, and dove headfirst into the cloud like a dive, crawling and swimming agilely through the cloud as if he were swimming underwater. After circling a few times, Xiaohei soon shouted, I knew you'd be here. He uncovered the cloud, revealing a tunnel like an underground bunker, from which Li Chenluo emerged, crawling out from the cloud's hole. Xiaohe is still amazing, Li Qianluo said with a cheeky smile. Let's do it again. It's my turn to catch this time. Era rubbed his palms, eager to start. Okay, okay. The children found earlier cheered excitedly, scattering quickly, running into the shifting clouds. Xiang Beifei sat atop the highest cloud, watching the boisterous children below, a knowing smile creeping onto his lips. These clouds were all mustard seed in palm. He spent half a year, working with Fu Yuzi and others from the tribe, nurturing the mustard seed in palm to about 300 feet. The mustard seed in palm was unique, controllable by all humans, even children, albeit with faint control abilities, enabling them to hide within it, swimming like in water. He divided the first batch of mustard seed in palm into several parts, building different houses, moving some people up onto the clouds to relieve Era's burden. Otherwise, maintaining such a large city would be quite exhausting for Era. One piece of mustard seed in palm was used as a playground for the children, fascinating them with its shape-shifting, and every day they played within the clouds. They could even tear off a small piece of mustard seed in palm, like snow, to play snowball fights or build snowmen. The mustard seed in palm was highly malleable, becoming hard when controlled properly, fit for play or forming solid houses, and Xiang Beifei ensured this. This is the life children should have. Luo Shanyu sat on a cloud edge, sighing with emotion. Usually not one for words, he now wore a rare, contented smile. Children always carried vibrant energy, running innocently and carefree. Their laughter crisp and ethereal, contagious to everyone. As long as a race's children can laugh freely, it shows the race's life is stable. Because someone stands up, keeping all danger away from the children. Luo Shanyu turned his gaze back, looking at Xiang Beifei and said, "Before you arrived, I rarely heard such pure laughter from the children. Once, the human race, homeless in the edge corner airspace, had no territory of its own, living in constant fear, unable to sleep peacefully. But now everything is moving in a positive direction. They found the mustard seed in palm, building their territory. This life already brings great satisfaction." Xiang Beifei smiled quietly, not speaking. He raised his head and suddenly saw a little girl about 3 or 4 years old hiding behind a protruding cloud corner, quietly watching, with a conflicted look on her face, wanting to say something but hesitating. "Xiaoya, is there something you need?" Xiang Beifei asked. "Brother Beifei, Grandpa Luo." Xiaoya put her hands behind her back and walked out hesitantly, looking very shy as she greeted them. "What's the matter, Xiaoya?" Luo Shanyu asked gently. Xiaoya brought her hand from behind, and in her hand was a sculpture molded from a mustard seed in palm. Upon a closer look, it turned out to be in the likeness of Xiang Beifei. The eyebrows, the nose, the shape of the face, all quite realistic, except the body was a bit small and the head a bit big. Everything else was lifelike. Mother said, "We have this life thanks to Brother Beifei," but I didn't know how to thank him. I thought about giving Brother Beifei tasty chicken drumsticks, but Mother said Brother Beifei doesn't lack that, and I don't know what he lacks. So I made a sculpture wanting to give it to Brother Beifei. Xiaoya hung her head, sneaking a glance at Xiang Beifei, and then shyly lowered her head again. "Why were you hesitating there?" Luo Shanyu laughed. "I'm worried. I don't know if Brother Beifei will like it." Xiaoya's voice was very faint, sounding quite apprehensive. Xiang Beifei chuckled, squatted down, patted Xiaoya's head, then took the sculpture made from the mustard seed in palm, and said, "Xiaoya has great hands-on skills. I really like the sculpture. Thank you, Xiaoya." Xiaoya immediately lifted her head, showing an excited smile and said, "That's great. Brother Beifei likes it. I'm so happy." She happily spun around, then pulled out another sculpture from her clothes and said, "Grandpa Luo, I made one for you too. Thank you, Grandpa Luo, for always protecting us." "Thank you, Xiaoya. I like it very much as well." Luo Shanyu smiled as he took it. This sculpture also bore about 8 parts resemblance to him, though the beard was molded somewhat crooked, but considering a 3-year-old, we can't ask for too much. I'll make some more to give to all the elders who protect us. The 3-year-old Xiaoya was very happy, hopped away stepping on the clouds. Xiang Beifei watched Xiaoya's departing figure and then looked down at the sculpture in his hand. Although it was nurtured from the mustard seed in palm, it was also a token of Xiaoya's affection. He smiled, then put the sculpture into the spirit-gathering book. Luo Shan, you also put the sculpture away, then hesitantly asked, "Your cultivation, why does it feel increasingly unfathomable to me?" Xiang Beifei gently trembled. Spiritual power dispersed from his body. Ascension Realm. You broke through to the Ascension Realm. Luo Shan Yu was stunned for a long time. He couldn't be mistaken. Xiang Beifei's aura was unquestionably the powerful aura of the Ascension Realm. I was lucky. While nurturing the mustard seed in palm, I felt I seemed to perceive something. Perhaps because of the return of the mustard seed in palm, I've also become somewhat complete. Xiang Beifei said with a smile. He broke through to the Ascension Realm 3 days ago. Although he hasn't cultivated much this half year, his speed was rapid. Luo Shan Yu was extremely shocked. If we count the time, Xiang Beifei should be no more than 27 years old. Geniuses from various races on the heaven and earth ranking reaching just the Inquiry Dao realm by the age of 3000 were already considered geniuses, but compared to Xiang Beifei, they seemed insignificant. He's only lived 27 years and is already at the Ascension Realm. You always surprise me. Luo Shanyu sighed deeply. Xiang Beifei remained calm about his cultivation progress. When he had transitioned from immortality to Inquiry Dao realm, he had already understood what ascension was about. For him, this time there was no barrier. It happened seamlessly. There's something I've wanted to ask. What's the situation with the heaven and earth ranking competition at the Dao Palace? Xiang Beifei inquired. Luo Shanyu replied, the Dao Palace postponed the heaven and earth ranking competition. The exact date hasn't been finalized. I remember they held the heaven and earth ranking competition in advance to send people to Common Valley. Has there been any news on this? Xiang Beifei asked. When Common Valley was mentioned, Luo Shanyu fell silent. He has always disliked Xiang Beifei bringing it up, because that place is extremely dangerous. Daoist Qingda and Xiang Tianxing both went to Common Valley and then disappeared without news. The original hope of the human race had waned subsequently, falling into a difficult situation. But he voiced out, Dao Palace has changed their plan, no longer relying on the heaven and earth ranking competition. They will open Common Valley, allowing each race to enter with 3 people, cultivation at least mid-immortality. They hope everyone can find their ancestral legacy. Luo Shanyu didn't hide this fact, because he knew, even if he didn't say it, Xiang Beifei would find a way to know. When is the time? Xiang Beifei asked. In a month, Luo Shanyu replied. I understand. Xiang Beifei nodded. You must go, right? Luo Shanyu asked. Xiang Beifei looked up at Luo Shanyu, and with a flash in his hand, Wufeng and the brick appeared floating in midair. Recently, I've noticed something unusual with Wufeng and the brick, as if they've sensed missing parts. That strange feeling is very strong. I suspect this matter is related to the Common Valley. Maybe the missing parts of these 2 ancestral tools are in the Common Valley. He had been wondering why the Dao Palace would suddenly open the Common Valley. The Dao Palace certainly couldn't truly allow those races to find their ancestral inheritances. He was more inclined to guess that perhaps the Dao Palace could no longer suppress the undercurrents of the Common Valley, or for some other reason. In any case, the Common Valley seemed unstable. Recently, the fluctuations from Wufeng and the brick had become increasingly intense. Perhaps that was the reason. Before, these 2 ancestral tools had never given Xiang Beifei such feelings. This Common Valley, he now had to make a trip there. We've already taken back the mustard seed in palm. Why bother with these things? Isn't this life good? Luo Shanyu pointed to the children running around in the clouds, the adults diligently cultivating, building their own homes, the children living worry-free childhoods, then inheriting adult responsibilities. Xiang Beifei also looked at those children. A few adults were waving to their kids, calling them to come home for dinner, and the children ran back to their parents' sides, holding their hands. He thought of that young boy who once stood by the window, longing for his parents' return. a rebellious 14-year-old who argued with his parents, shouting at them not to come back. Afterward, those two left and never really came back. He's not that boy, but he is also that boy. In his heart, there is always a strange fixation, lingering. They have their parents, I have mine too, Xiang Beifei softly said. Watching those children running on the clouds, Luo Shanyu looked at Xiang Beifei, wanting to speak but hesitated. He suddenly realized that Xiang Beifei was just a child too. A 20-something child who grew up without his parents' companionship. A person who stumbled from Juzhou to this place, only to search for his parents and seek some truths. This kind of life, I admit I like very much. But in peace, one should be wary of danger. I hope the human race can enter and leave the edge corner airspace freely, like all other races, instead of hiding all day like street rats. The Dao Palace holds powerful ancestral tools, and for us to lift our heads, we too must own our ancestral tools. Ancestral tools control the 3,000 great Daos. The Dao Palace has many ancestral tools, allowing them to manipulate many of the heavenly Dao laws. For the human race to survive, merely reclaiming the mustard seed in palm is not enough. After a long while, Luo Shanyu finally said, "All right, you can go to the Common Valley, but on one condition." "What condition?" "I'll go with you," Luo Shanyu said. Xiang Beifei furrowed his brows. Luo Shanyu said, "Actually, this isn't much of a condition because I can't really restrict you, but no matter what, you call me uncle. I must take on the responsibilities of an uncle. After all, you are his disciple." He knew he couldn't control Xiang Beifei. Whenever Xiang Beifei discussed something with him, it was out of respect, accommodating his feelings, but in reality, many things Xiang Beifei could decide for himself. Xiang Beifei had ventured into so many cities, gone to Jingxi City alone to save people, and went to Xin City to retrieve the mustard seed in palm. He never greeted, yet always returned successfully. Even if Xiang Beifei promised not to go now, he would definitely sneak away later. So, Luo Shanyu no longer thought about trying to stop Xiang Beifei but decided to go with him. He is a human king warrior. Since the Common Valley is so dangerous, then at the crucial moment, he will fulfill his duty as a stellar death warrior. Burning his own soul, creating an escape opportunity for the human king. But here for the human race. Here only Elder Fu Yuzi is needed. He stays, I follow. It must be this way. Since every race will go, a conflict is highly likely to occur, so you also need manpower. Luo Shanyu's attitude was very firm. Neither Taoist Qingde nor Xiang Tianxing chose to bring the stellar death warrior, which resulted in no clues being left behind for the human race after the incident, leaving them with a near-devastating blow. Luo Shanyu did not allow the same thing to happen again. Xiang Beifei was still hesitant, but after a moment, he agreed, saying, "All right, with an extra person, there's ultimately more strength," and he did not persist in this matter. "Uncle, how much do you know about Common Valley?" Xiang Beifei asked. Common Valley is a very strange place. You can perceive it as an ancient battleground. The Dao Palace can't actually control that place. At most, they use some power of the ancestral artifact to hide its entrance, but inside Common Valley, various powerful forces are entwined, many stemming from top experts in the ancestral Dao realm who perished in ancient times. These are on par with the ancestral artifact. It's impossible to block that place with just a few ancestral artifacts. The ancestral artifact controls the heavenly Dao. No matter how strong the power of an expert in the ancestral Dao realm is, it shouldn't surpass the ancestral artifact by all rights. Xiang Beifei said, "The abilities exercised by those in the ancestral Dao realm are also under the heavenly Dao. The heavenly Dao is the strongest force in the world, absolutely stronger than any expert in the ancestral Dao realm. I don't know the specifics, but according to what Taoist Qingde once told me, he mentioned that the ancestral artifact was actually born in Common Valley," Luo Shanyu said. Xiang Beifei was slightly surprised. This was something Xiang Beifei didn't expect. If the ancestral artifact was born in Common Valley, then this place is definitely stronger than the ancestral artifact, which means the Dao Palace can't possibly seal Common Valley entirely with just one ancestral artifact. "Then how did my grandfather go back then?" Xiang Beifei asked. Luo Shanyu looked at the shattered woofing sword in Xiang Beifei's hand, hesitated for a bit, then said, "He said that as long as there is an ancestral artifact, one can freely enter and exit Common Valley. The ancestral artifact is like a key to Common Valley." The ancestral artifact is a key? Xiang Beifei was taken aback. Turned out Uncle already knew about this. No wonder he rarely mentioned anything about woofing to Xiang Beifei and never talked about the ancestral artifact to him, fearing that Xiang Beifei, owning woofing, would suddenly head to Common Valley. What specific heavenly Dao laws does woofing have? What laws is the human race lacking? Xiang Beifei asked. The original complete woofing ancestral artifact in the hands of Daoist Qingde was perfect, yet he still wanted to go to Common Valley, indicating that a certain heavenly Dao law rune deprived from the human race was not with woofing. Luo Shanyu pointed to that snowflake-like system interface above his head and said, "I don't know the specifics, but it should be related to this. The people of Juzhou, with the system, can cultivate rapidly but never reach eternal life. Daoist Qingde once mentioned to me that these systems are likely shackles forcibly placed on our human race by someone else." System shackles. Xiang Beifei was utterly amazed. He suddenly realized that he seemed to have overlooked this point. From the time he communicated with the heavenly Dao and stepped into the heavenly connection realm, he understood that everyone's system is actually a heavenly Dao law, which is a Dao embryo. Yet he never thought about the relationship between the system and the ancestral artifact. Only with Luo Shanyu's reminder did he realize. The human race is supposed to cultivate human Dao, but is guided by the system into cultivating various abilities, seeming to develop in many aspects, yet in reality no one with a system can achieve eternal life. It's a very peculiar constraint. Luo Shanyu, currently 333 years old, cultivated with the system for 280 years, was at the late stage of heavenly connection, later came to the edge corner airspace, and under Daoist Qingde's guidance severed the Dao and escaped the system, becoming an inquiring Dao stage within just 50 years. Without the system, Luo Shanyu seems to have broken free from these shackles. If someone utilized the ancestral artifact to forcibly impose such a system and shackles onto the human race, preventing them from stepping into eternal life, this possibility does exist. Because an ancestral artifact can completely erase the mustard seed in palm, it can naturally change the essence of a race through the heavenly Dao laws. The talent of the human race far surpasses those so-called geniuses in the heaven and earth ranking by several leagues. If someone doesn't wish for the human race to rise, then using the ancestral artifact to forcibly impose some shackle on the human race is plausible. Did the Dao Palace use the ancestral artifact to give the human race the system? Xiang Beifei asked. If anyone put shackles on the human race, Xiang Beifei can only think of the Dao Palace. But Luo Shanyu shook his head. Daoist Qingde said it wasn't. If not the Dao Palace, then who? Xiang Beifei asked. This is also something Daoist Qingde is pondering. He mentioned there's a mysterious force inside Common Valley, and perhaps the Dao Palace is merely driven by that force. A mysterious force stronger than the Dao Palace? What on earth could it be? Xiang Beifei stared at the woofing and brick in his hands and then fell into contemplation. Luo Shanyu had everything sorted out and was preparing to go with Xiang Beifei to Common Valley. Naturally, their journey wouldn't be without a wanderlust companion who loved to roam aimlessly. Li Qianluo was very eager about this matter, probably out of boredom, always wanting to jump in. I've been there once with my mentor. If you don't take me, can you bear it? Li Qianluo said. Luo Shanyu was very surprised. When did you go, Ali? Ha! I went there with my master back then. Look, Xiao Bei's brick was picked up by me, Li Qianluo said with a grin. Luo Shanyu looked at Xiang Beifei questioningly, and Xiang Beifei nodded. Your master can take you to a place like Common Valley. Must be an ancestral Dao realm expert, right? Xiang Beifei asked. More or less, Li Qianluo said casually. More or less. Xiang Beifei and Luo Shanyu exchanged a glance. Will your master go to Common Valley this time? Xiang Beifei asked. My master might be in retreat or out wandering. He doesn't like getting involved in these matters much, and I can't contact him. He usually finds me on his own, Li Qianluo said. Luo Shanyu said, If I get a chance, I must visit your esteemed master. Ah, may besomide. Li Qianluo chuckled. All right, let's go then. Xiang Beifei said. I'm going too. I'm going too. Era ran over excitedly. This time we're going to Common Valley. Stay here quietly. Xiang Beifei said. No way, every time you guys get into trouble, you don't take me along. I'm bored to death. This time I definitely must go. Who knows? Maybe I'll encounter my ancestral inheritance. Ignoring everything, Era transformed into a little Kylin and burrowed into Xiang Beifei's pocket. Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment and said, All right, but don't run around. Stick with me. Only a fool would run around. Era poked its head out of the pocket and yawned. True, you're afraid of dying. Xiaohe mocked. Pa, you're the one who's afraid of dying. I'm being cautious. Better safe than sorry. Era retorted. If Jianmu leaves, what happens here? Luo Shanyu asked. There won't be trouble from the Kangji Abyss. My ability combined with Feifei's formation. Unless an ancestral Dao realm expert invades and shatters the formation, but if such a guy invades, it won't matter if I'm here or not. Better to follow Feifei, yes. Shoulder the hardships together. Era said with heartiness. Xiaohe glared disdainfully at Era, knowing that this guy was purely bored from being cooped up here and wanted to go out for a stroll. Seeing Xiang Beifei wasn't objecting, Luo Shanyu said no more. He knew his mission for this journey, and when he decided to go, he was prepared to sacrifice his life if need be. If trouble arises, he would burn his life force to ensure these people escape safely. After bidding farewell to Fu Yuzi, the group immediately headed deeper into the void. This time, their destination was neither Xiyin City nor Xiang City, but a teleportation point. The Dao Palace had released word that the entry to Common Valley was at the Chifu Gate. The Chifu Gate was a node in the relay station, similar to last time when he went to the Rushu Relic at the Heavenly Segment Gate and Rijiangmen. The edge corner airspace is vast, often separating two cities by tens of thousands of miles. Even an Inquiry Dao realm flight could take several days. Thus, the Dao Palace established various relay nodes, providing teleportation convenience to everyone, albeit not for free, but charging breath soil. Regular cultivators, if associated with Earth people, can spend some breath soil to teleport several 100,000 miles. The Dao Palace possesses ancestral artifact Litian Spear. The world's teleportation divine patterns are controlled by Litian Spear, making teleportation an effortless task for them, without worries of void tides or devouring forces. Having mastered core abilities, the Dao Palace set high costs for teleportation, charging 1 zhang of soil for every 100,000 miles. Many races, rushing against time, must pay the price set by the Dao Palace for teleportation. Hence, these relay stations earn a lot of soil. Xiang Beifei estimated the distance over 10 million miles with his current speed. Flying to the Chifu Gate would take half a month's time, so he decided to rely on the teleportation array. For such a far distance, just teleporting might require about 100 zhang or so of breath soil, a significant amount which the human race can't afford. Yet Xiang Beifei didn't mind. Lacking other resources, he truly doesn't lack breath soil. Not only does he cultivate breath soil himself, but recently he managed to grab plenty from the Dao Palace. To him, it's like a drop in the ocean. Nevertheless, after careful consideration, he chose not to teleport directly to the node near Chifu Gate. Given that the Dao Palace instructed all races wanting to go to Common Valley to gather here, it implies the Chifu Gate would certainly get special attention, potentially watched by several ancestral Dao realm experts. Teleporting directly would be too conspicuous. After all, it's their territory. Upon arrival, countless strong gazes would likely fix on them, and being discovered by ancestral Dao realm experts is certainly not a good thing. So, he opted for a compromise, choosing to teleport near the Zhuwei Gate, then fly directly from there to avoid being watched at Chifu Gate. Traversing 10 million miles with a teleportation array takes merely a blink of an eye. Having this teleportation capability is nice, go wherever you want. Xiang Beifei couldn't help but think. He thought that during his time in Xiyin City, his trade with Litian Spear was somewhat conservative. Had he known about Litian Spear's teleportation divine patterns, he should have traded for them too. Lydian Spear would have agreed for the fragments, surely. Yet, back then the situation was too dangerous. Xiang Beifei never pondered that Lydian Spear would control this heavenly Tao law, didn't think so much. While he was musing, before him the stars spun, arriving at Shui Gate. Upon emergence, a powerful spiritual force descended upon them, seemingly scanning them thoroughly to verify their identities. Every teleportation gate monitors whom it transports, but with Xiang Beifei, there was less concern. This wasn't their destination, and the Tao Palace couldn't allocate major resources here. They soon left directly. About 5 hours of flight later, they finally reached the Chifu Gate. Even before approaching, Xiang Beifei felt a pressure enveloping the area. Ancestral Tao Realm's aura wasn't hidden, seemingly to announce that here acts are not tolerated. Currently, Chifu Gate was a sea of people, with countless powerful individuals gathered. A rough count suggested over 10,000. The Tao Palace allowed each race 3 entrants without any restrictions, meaning not only those on the heaven and earth ranking could enter, even those not ranked could go in. Thus, for the ancestral inheritance inside Common Valley, every race dispatched their strongest 2 elders, along with a talented young prodigy. The scene was filled with various powerful auras: Ascension Realm, Inquiry Tao Realm, with the least being Immortal Realm Cultivation, truly a gathering of experts even grander than during the Sheen City event. After all, the audience in Sheen City varied in strength. Anyone could spectate, but here isn't open to all. Looks like this Common Valley trip might not be simple. Luo Shanyo's expression was rather grave. In the Edge Corner airspace, aside from those not especially strong races, other races generally have Ascension Realm elders to protect their own. Today's Common Valley matter startled those ancient beings secluded for ages. It's easy to imagine the events within Common Valley. Conflicts would lead to high-level battles. Claiming it as world-shattering is no exaggeration. Xiang Beifei's gaze swept past the people, focusing on the distant void. That section of void appeared twisted, with indistinct light shadows shimmering within, accompanied by numerous golden chains entwining it as though massive iron chains locked this void piece. Iron chains locking the void. Why does it seem so familiar? Era poked its head out of the pocket, exclaiming in surprise. It's the Bone Mountain Desert Stone Cave. The same blocking formation. Xiaohe spoke out. Indeed, Xiang Beifei sensed it too. These chains' aura seemingly resembled Bone Mountain Desert Stone Cave, but beyond the twisted light shadows lay a chaotic ancient aura, akin to a colossal beast buried for millennia, slowly awakening. That aura far surpassed the Bone Mountain Desert Stone Cave. Buzz! Buzz! Xiang Beifei clearly sensed the movement of Wufeng and the 5 pieces of stone. These 2 ancestral artifacts seemed very agitated. If the Spirit Gathering Book hadn't firmly sealed them, they might have started emitting intense waves by now. Have you sensed your kin? Or are you excited to return to your homeland? Xiang Beifei couldn't help but ponder. Unfortunately, these 2 ancestral artifacts did not respond specifically to Xiang Beifei. They simply ignored him, vibrating of their own accord. More and more figures had gathered here. Each newcomer was almost always a mighty individual, but there was no gossiping bystanders chatter here, and no one would scream because they saw a famous master. After all, everyone who could come here was a master, each with their own dignity, and they wouldn't praise someone's past with unrelated people. At most, they discussed within groups of 3 of their own race, but even then, they used spiritual power to shield their voices, preventing others from overhearing. Thus, despite the throngs of people, it was quite quiet. Most were conserving their energy, waiting to enter Common Valley, while a few were observing their surroundings, wary of powerful individuals from other rival races. Luckily, Luo Shanyu knew these people well. He had spent decades in Edge Corner airspace, tirelessly working for the human race, collecting a wealth of information. He introduced many masters to Xiang Beifei. Currently, there was no news from the Tao Palace, and everyone was waiting. Xiang Beifei also planned to wait and see, and so he followed everyone else and waited here for a day. At noon on the 2nd day, a violent wave appeared in the sky, like the rumbling of thunder, exploding in everyone's ears and drawing them all in. Crack! Crack! The chains in the sky broke as if they shattered, large golden chains falling into the void and quickly disintegrating, while a vast primal aura rushed forth from the void. It seemed that the seal of Common Valley had broken. Then, a vast stretch of white mountains and ravines appeared before them, wild forests stretching endlessly for thousands of miles, white clouds hovering in the serene sky, appearing quite leisurely, unlike a place of danger. Here the scenery was quite strange, as Edge Corner airspace was mostly endless void, with virtually no land in sight. Even cities scarcely had solid ground. But the moment the seal of Common Valley broke, it was as if everyone was suddenly drawn in. One moment they stood in the void, the next they were on this land. They couldn't see the void anymore. Where's the void? Everyone was stunned, the sudden disappearance of the void catching them off guard. In their minds, they ought to still be standing outside Common Valley in the void, not yet having stepped into it. But Common Valley seemed to expand, suddenly encompassing them, while the void disappeared. Originally, they had gathered here, intending to wait for the Dao Palace's arrangements. Normally, they were supposed to patiently wait. Then the people from the Dao Palace would appear, announce the rules, arrange for each race to send 3 people, and then enter Common Valley. This should have been the standard procedure. However, the people from Dao Palace never appeared, yet everyone was pulled inside, catching them off guard. What was going on here? Everyone was a bit bewildered, looking around hopefully to find someone from Dao Palace to give an explanation, at the very least to clarify the situation. But there was not a single person from Dao Palace around. From start to finish, no experts from the Dao Palace showed up. However, those present were experts themselves and would not lose their composure. Each quickly regrouped with their own, warily surveying the surroundings. Roar! 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 Terrifying roars echoed from the distant mountains, like ancient beasts gradually awakening, shaking this space. The sound was deafening, piercing everyone's eardrums. What kind of desolate beast is this? Many were taken aback. Those present were all experts, their cultivation at least at the eternal life stage. Yet the cries of these desolate beasts were soul-stirring, making even them feel unsettled, even shaking their spirits a bit. Even elder experts at the ascension stage frowned. They felt a hint of threat. What a strange roar! These are ancient desolate beasts, also known as void beasts. Some void beasts are very peculiar, Li Qianluo quietly explained. After all, she had been to Common Valley once before and knew a lot about it. What are void beasts? Xiang Beifei had never heard of such things before. Void beasts, a very peculiar type of creature. My master said that in ancient times, they existed in the void of Edge Corner airspace. They cultivated the devouring power of the void, and their food was cultivators. Li Qianluo said seriously. Yes, I also heard of this. The void beasts of Edge Corner airspace fed on cultivators, causing many races a great deal of trouble. They had no way to deal with these powerful ancient desolate beasts, and many races were even wiped out by void beasts, Luo Shanyu said. But there's supposedly no such thing as void beasts in Edge Corner airspace now. Xiang Beifei had not been in Edge Corner airspace long and hadn't heard of these before. They disappeared a long time ago. Everyone thought they were extinct, Luo Shanyu replied. Not extinct. They must have been sealed here, Li Qianluo stated. Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment. Void beasts that can feed on practitioners would be confined here. It seems there's only one method. Ancestral artifact that controls the heavenly Tao. Ancestral artifacts have the ability to erase something entirely from the world. We must be careful. My master told me not to casually provoke void beasts. The reason these beasts can treat practitioners as food is because they are immune to practitioners' spiritual power. Li Qianluo cautioned. Immune to spiritual power? That powerful? Doesn't that mean our attacks would be ineffective? Xiaohe asked in confusion. Not entirely. Think about it. The void in Edge Corner airspace has a peculiar power that specifically devours practitioners' spiritual power. Void beasts cultivate this power, but we can rely on things like Xin Li, breath soil, and mustard seed and palm to counteract, right? Oh. Sister Li is saying we can use these things to deal with void beasts? Xiaohei suddenly understood. What about me? Can I punch them? Era, perched on Xiang Beifei's shoulder, wagged his tail and asked. The wooden Kirin is fundamentally a Jianmu, a divine object of the Ju-Mang tribe, sufficient to resist void power. It should be possible, but it's hard to say. Fierce void beasts won't fear these things, or they have ways to deal with them. The safer to be cautious. Last time I didn't gain any advantage from a void beast even using Xinli. It was my master who resolved it, Li Qianluo said. While they were talking, experts from other races had already started moving. Since they were at the Common Valley, naturally, they were searching for the legacy left by their ancestors here. If they could obtain the blessing, it would surely lead their entire race to prosperity. Everyone was heading in different directions. Some, unaware of the void beasts, cautiously avoided the direction of the roars, moving towards the other end of the mountains. Of course, some remained in place, seemingly planning something or waiting for others to scout ahead before making their decision. Some few races appeared to plan to travel together, negotiating agreements among themselves. Xiang Beifei currently didn't plan to form alliances. He signaled to Li Qianluo and Luo Shanyu, then flew towards the distant mountains. To prevent unexpected attacks, they all applied the mustard seed in palm to themselves to avoid sneak attacks by void beasts. After flying for about a quarter of an hour, the surroundings were devoid of people and they stopped. This place was a mountain ravine, filled with bizarre rocks and entwined with various strange purple plants, surrounded by cliffs over 100 meters high, with scattered bones on the cliffs. Let's wait here for a bit. I need to check on Wufeng and the bricks, Xiang Beifei said. Wufeng and the 3 bricks had been kept in the spirit gathering book by Xiang Beifei. Since arriving here, their aura became unstable, constantly emitting fluctuations. Xiang Beifei didn't dare let them out randomly, fearing they'd attract the Dao Palace's Litian spear or similar ancestral artifacts. Hold on, I'll check around. Luo Shanyu leapt up and scanned the surrounding cliffs thoroughly. No one seems to have followed us. I've checked. Luo Shanyu landed from the cliff, keeping a lookout from a protruding stone instead of landing near them. Xiang Beifei decided to handle things one at a time, starting by taking out Wufeng. The aura of the broken sword grew more violent once removed, trembling incessantly. What are you trying to do? Don't be rash. If you attract a complete-grade ancestral artifact like the Litian spear, I can't handle it. Xiang Beifei held Wufeng firmly, uncertain if it would heed him, as it often emanates a mighty aura to confront other ancestral artifacts. But once held by Xiang Beifei, its overwhelming power withdraws, seemingly disdaining Xiang Beifei's weakness, reluctant to grant its fearsome power for Xiang Beifei to wield. Conversely, when Wufeng is held by him, it doesn't go berserk. Fortunately, Wufeng didn't leave this time either. Though held by Xiang Beifei, it turned its blade towards a specific direction. Is Wufeng suggesting we go that way? Luo Shanyu asked. Seems like it, Xiang Beifei replied. Li Qianluo asked, then why don't you ask 5 pieces of stone where it wants to go? Xiang Beifei took out the bricks too. The 3 bricks continued to knock against each other, yet not too recklessly. Unfortunately, they pointed to the side. The 2 ancestral artifacts want to go in different directions. Do they have missing parts scattered in different places? Xiaohei asked. It seems that's correct, Xiang Beifei replied. Where should we go? Li Qianluo asked. First to the bricks or Wufeng? Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment, then inquired, where did you and your master find the brick fragment last time? Li Qianluo shrugged. Honestly, I don't quite know. How could you not know? Sister Li, haven't you been here? Era inquired in puzzlement. Last time my master took me, I just followed around like a tag-along. Besides, I didn't enter from this point. The place is much bigger than you think. I hardly remembered any landmarks, let alone know how to reach the brick fragment place from here. Li Qianluo explained. Xiang Beifei made a decision. Since that's the case, let's first follow the direction of the bricks. Perhaps you'll find the fragment place familiar along the way. In the common valley, one must have a purpose in walking. This is the best approach for now. Wu Fing seemed to still want Xiang Beifei to follow its direction, but Xiang Beifei reassured, "Let's first head towards what's familiar, then your direction after." Putting Wu Fing back into the spirit-gathering book, they followed the direction of the bricks. After traversing several hills, still surrounded by towering mountains, sharp-eyed Xiaohe suddenly pointed ahead and exclaimed, "There's a waterfall there!" Upon closer inspection, they indeed saw a large waterfall ahead, cascading down a towering mountain, the peak reaching into the clouds, its top hidden from sight, evoking the feeling of a heavenly river descending from 9 skies. However, the height of the waterfall wasn't the main point. Rather, it was the intermittent explosions in the waterfall, causing water to splash around. The entire waterfall bursting sporadically appeared exceedingly odd. At this time, 3 people stood beneath the waterfall, holding a yellowed scroll, searching for something. These 3, one was mid-inquiring Tao stage, 2 eternal life stage later period, all very powerful. Experts of the Shungto race, the leader is Xing Wuya, a mid-inquiring Tao stage expert. The eternal life stage later one, Xing Yuk, an earth-ranking talent. The other I don't recognize, Luo Shanyu stated. The 3 Shungto people gathered, pointing excitedly at something on the scroll, their faces showing intense excitement. "What are they discussing?" Era asked. During their discussion, they prudently kept their voices low, ensuring only their group could hear, making it impossible for outsiders to eavesdrop. However, this didn't deter Xiang Beifei, as the 3 seemed to forget that some can read lips, making sound barriers futile. Movements of the lips still convey the message. It turns out the scroll left by Ancestor Daxing was right. It's indeed here. Xing Wuya inspected the scroll excitedly. So, was Ancestor Lichuan's master the one who fell here? Xing Yuk inquired beside him. It should be. Ancestor Daxing was forcefully sent away by Ancestor Lichuan back then. Unfortunately, he was too injured, passing shortly after returning. Yet, he left the scroll before dying. It was this very scroll that took him away, and now it guides us here. It's truly the Ancestor's blessing. Xing Wuya grew increasingly excited. The remaining 2 people exchanged a glance, also very excited. Their clan had always kept this scroll, but had never had the chance to use it. This scroll contained immense power and was an ancestral relic. Unexpectedly, just after entering Common Valley, they easily found this place relying on the scroll. "What are we waiting for? Master, let's follow the map to see the place where the ancestor fell. Perhaps the ancestor's legacy is here. Didn't Ancestor Xing say the scroll could protect us?" Xing Yuk seemed impatient. He was an earth-ranking genius, and if he could obtain the ancestral legacy, entering the heavenly ranking would not be a problem. But Xing Wuya, as a mid-stage inquiring Tao expert, was clearly not so reckless. He calmly said, "Don't be impulsive. We must be cautious. Even when Ancestor Lichuan was at the late stage of Ascension Tao here, he perished. Even with the scroll, we mustn't let our guard down." The remaining 2, having been reprimanded, also calmed down, gathering their full attention, cautiously proceeding forward. Each step they took was with a careful evaluation of their surroundings, ensuring nothing happened before moving forward. However, after walking about 10 meters, the 3 suddenly stopped. They exchanged a glance, slightly opened their mouths as if to say something, but they only held their mouths open without closing them again. "What are they saying?" Era asked confusedly. "They're not speaking anymore," Xiang Beifei replied. The 3 Shungto race members remained still for a quarter of an hour, not moving at all. Gradually, Xiang Beifei suddenly felt something was wrong. He exclaimed in shock, "Wait, are they dead?" "Dead." Everyone was taken aback. "Are you sure?" Era asked doubtfully. "No mistake," Xiang Beifei said solemnly. "Can't be. I didn't see anything attack them." Era scratched his head and said. The 3 Shungto race members were very cautious as they moved forward, but they had been paying attention to their surroundings. Nothing appeared, and no force was transmitted to these 3. "Be careful. Let's get a bit closer and take a look." Xiang Beifei and others moved closer, observing from afar. Xing Wuya and the other two had lifelike expressions and postures, standing there most naturally and harmoniously, not looking at all like they were dead. But the three had lost their vitality as if life had been suddenly stripped away from them. They were indeed dead. When did these people die? Everyone looked at each other in astonishment, because they had been watching the three who hadn't done anything the entire time, just walked there. Yet, inexplicably, they just died, and they were still maintaining their final postures. What killed them? Luo Shanyu asked with a frown of concern. I don't know. I didn't see clearly. Xiao Bei, did you see how they died? Li Qianluo asked Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei shook his head. I didn't either. Era took a sharp breath and quickly burrowed into Xiang Beifei's pocket. Why are you so afraid of dying? Xiaohe scorned. Even Feifei doesn't know how those three died. This place is too dangerous, Era exclaimed, poking half his head out of the pocket. The strongest here was Xiang Beifei, but even he didn't notice anything unusual, which was definitely not a good sign. This place was too sinister. The three hadn't done anything, didn't even activate a formation, just walked normally for a couple of steps, and then they were gone. Such a situation was indeed bizarre. Even if a blade had come out and turned the three into powder, Xiang Beifei and others wouldn't have found it surprising. After all, this place was strange, and if something jumped out and attacked, they might be startled but could accept it. But dying inexplicably in full view, that's a problem. We better leave this place quickly, Luo Shanyu said. Yes, quickly run. The farther the better. Era nodded earnestly. But if we don't figure this out, can we guarantee the same thing won't happen after we leave here? Xiaohe said. Right, what if there's another death formation waiting for us afterward? If we don't figure out how they died, it's unsafe, Li Qianluo said. Xiaohe and Li Qianluo, driven by curiosity, both thought they needed to investigate this matter clearly. Luo Shanyu, responsible for protecting everyone, had to consider from a security angle. Era considered it from the angle of fear of death. Everyone turned their eyes to Xiang Beifei, needing him to make a decision, as he was the mainstay. Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment and said, You all wait here. I'll go take a look. I'll go with you. Luo Shanyu's responsibility was to protect Xiang Beifei. Although he disagreed with this decision, he had to stay by Xiang Beifei's side since Xiang Beifei intended to go. No need, I'll go by myself, Xiang Beifei said. But, don't worry. I have the ancestral device and can run fast, Xiang Beifei said. He carefully approached the three Xiongtou race people but didn't get too close, stopping about 20 meters away from them. When the three had walked to this point, nothing had happened yet. This was a stretch of moist marshland, with damp soil emitting a strong fishy smell. Black plants grew on the soil, retaining the footprints of the three people. But strangely, these three footprints seemed not to be sunken but protruding. What's going on? The footprints in the swamp didn't sink, but instead protruded? Xiang Beifei didn't step into this part of the swamp, but carefully observed the three footprints. The three footprints were very clear. Even the patterns on the soles of their shoes could be seen clearly, with each footprint 3 inches above the ground. He looked up at the three people in front of him. The place where Xing Wuya and the others stood also seemed to be protruding. This swamp definitely has an issue. Xiang Beifei gathered a clump of breath soil in his hand, transformed it into a hard stone, and then hurled the stone towards the swamp. Pa! The stone formed from breath soil struck the soft swamp and quickly sank down. Gurgle, gurgle. The breath soil stones slowly sank, bubbling up one after another, soon disappearing into the swamp and vanishing. After waiting for a moment, no mark appeared in the swamp, and the imprint of the breath soil gradually disappeared as well. People stepping on it didn't sink, but the stone sank when thrown? Xiang Beifei was increasingly puzzled. The spiritual power he originally attached to the breath soil had disappeared, with the imprint of the spiritual power wiped out by the swamp. Have you found anything? Li Qianluo quietly called out from behind. I don't know. This swamp is very strange, Xiang Beifei replied. He squatted by the edge of the swamp, gathering a long breath soil stick in his hand, stirring the swamp. But soon, the breath soil stick was dissolved by some mysterious force. Breath soil relies on Xiang Beifei's spiritual power to consolidate. Once the spiritual power is devoured, it means the breath soil will dissolve. But at that moment, he suddenly became alert and immediately retreated. What's going on? Is there something? Li Qianluo's body immediately glowed brown, asking urgently. But there was nothing around. It seemed like nothing was about to jump out. You all back away. I sensed something just now, Xiang Beifei said deeply. Where? Luo Shanyu saw something was wrong on Xiang Beifei's side, wanting to rush over, but Xiang Beifei shouted, Don't move! However, before Luo Shanyu could stop, it seemed like an invisible shadow flashed through the air. Without any hesitation, Xiang Beifei took a step forward immediately, appearing beside Luo Shanyu, slapping the brick in his hand over Luo Shanyu's head. Bang! A dull sound rang out. It seemed like Xiang Beifei had hit something, which quickly retreated from Luo Shanyu's head. Shu, are you okay? Xiang Beifei pulled Luo Shanyu behind him. I'm fine, what just happened? Luo Shanyu asked with a heavy expression. Something just attacked you, Xiang Beifei said deeply. Attacked me? Luo Shanyu was increasingly shocked, immediately spreading his attention, but he felt nothing. He only saw Xiang Beifei flying over to his side, thinking something happened to Xiang Beifei and came to help, but didn't see anything approaching, nor did he sense anything attacking him. Is it a void beast? Li Qianluo also ran over to ask. I don't know. Shouldn't this be asked of you? Xiang Beifei himself was visiting Common Valley for the first time, hearing of a void beast for the first time, having no idea what it really looked like. Void beast. The ones I've seen are no different from those desolate beasts. I don't know what this is either, Li Qianluo said. Let's go, leave here first. Xiang Beifei didn't plan to stay any longer. As they couldn't see where the attack was coming from, it was unwise to remain. All right, let's go quickly, move, Era urged. Xiang Beifei purposely let Luo Shanyu walk in the middle, protecting him, because the strange object attacked in such a way to specifically avoid him and Li Qianluo, turning towards Luo Shanyu. It's clear Luo Shanyu was targeted as the first strike target. Li Qianluo, even though normally playing games with a bunch of kids, seldom cultivating or taking action, had a very peculiar strength, definitely above Luo Shanyu. In other words, the invisible thing likely locked onto the weakest Luo Shanyu, as if understanding to pick the soft spot. But even with Luo Shanyu being the weakest here, he still had late-stage inquiring Dao cultivation, yet even that unseen thing didn't care. Buzz! Buzz! In the distance, the towering waterfall kept booming, echoes coming in waves, creating ripples looking very disharmonious. They didn't want to know how the 3 Xiongtou race people died, only wanting to leave urgently. But they hadn't gone far. Rumble! A huge explosion resounded again, this time not from the waterfall, but from the previous swamp. Xiang Beifei couldn't help but look back, only to find something seemed to burst out of the swamp, tearing huge cracks in the ground as terrifying force seemed to shred the entire land. But eerily, despite the intense tremors of the earth, the 3 Xiongtou race people still stood there, unmoved, maintaining their discussion posture as if unaffected. The swamp beneath their feet remained unharmed. Yet the outer cracks spread quickly, extending thousands of feet instantaneously, reaching under their feet in a moment. The group immediately leaped into the air, looking down to see dark gray swamp sludge swirling within the massive cracks beneath, chasing their footsteps. This way! Xiang Beifei immediately led everyone to dodge aside, but the swamp sludge within the enormous cracks started bubbling. These bubbles churned. Each bursting seemed to unleash an unseen suction pulling their bodies, as if to drag them down. This formidable pull was too much for even Xiang Beifei to withstand completely. In desperation, Xiang Beifei suddenly sensed something, then waved his hand. Crash! Mustard seed and palm swept out immediately, covering them on all sides. Buzz! Sure enough, the bizarre devouring power was blocked when encountering mustard seed and palm. Mustard seed and palm inherently carried a mysterious buoyancy, able to carry people flying, differing from breath soil. Under the powerful buoyancy's protection, they quickly broke free. But the danger was far from over, as a thunderous roar sounded again all around. Turning to look and discovering that the terrifying towering waterfall was actually collapsing. The towering waterfall seemed destroyed. The water flowed down completely, engulfing Xiang Beifei and the others, transforming the swamp plains into a tsunami-like catastrophe, the world seeming to collapse. The massive force swept them up, scattering the three rapidly, the towering stream over 1,000 meters high, engulfing them separately. Shu, Li, where are you? Xiang Beifei shouted. But he himself was swept away by the water. In this watery world, everything felt extremely oppressive, greatly suppressing Xiang Beifei's senses. His voice couldn't go out, nor could his thoughts reach Li Qianluo and Luo Shanyu. He could only tightly bind Era and Yu Meng. But Luo Shanyu and Li Qianluo were already out of sight. Even Xiaohe, who always perched on Xiang Beifei's shoulder, was swept away, losing contact. Rumble. The water swirled, forming vortexes that were difficult to escape from. Within these vortexes, blue electric sparks seemed to flash, the sparks roaring towards Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei felt his whole body electrified. Even with his Ascension realm cultivation, he couldn't withstand such an attack. What startled Xiang Beifei the most was a vague sense of something darting rapidly through the water. The feeling those things brought was identical to the invisible ones from before. Damn it! Shu. Xiang Beifei felt a great unease, knowing that so many powerful, eerie creatures would surely head straight for Luo Shanyu first. The torrential water flows continuously crisscrossed and impacted. Xiang Beifei could no longer see the sky, as if the entire world had been swallowed by the flood, the huge waves surging and rumbling. Those invisible things were darting everywhere, making Xiang Beifei feel an immense threat. The situation here exceeded his imagination. If those things could be perceived, it would be fine, but the problem was that Xiang Beifei couldn't perceive their existence at all. He just relied on his intuition for danger to judge the position of the opponent. Xiang Beifei immediately slapped out a brick. The brick emitted golden array patterns that spread along the water flow around him. But the water flow was too strong, almost beyond Xiang Beifei's control. The golden array patterns couldn't spread far before being scattered. He really wanted to let the brick exert its power. If the brick could act like it did in Xin City, at least it could pin down these things here, but currently, besides unleashing power when encountering similar ancestral artifacts, Xiang Beifei couldn't let the brick act again. But suddenly he thought of another item. Without any hesitation, with a thought, Yu's monument appeared in his hand. Buzz! With the appearance of Yu's monument, it instantly burst forth with a heavy, solid aura. Golden light radiating swiftly outwards centered on Xiang Beifei. Wave after wave of ripples, thundering into motion. The surging water, struck by the divine might of Yu's monument, stopped immediately in mid-air and could no longer churn. The powerful Yu's monument, back then, could guard against the corrosive Ruishui River and Bitter Sea. It was also able to suppress these raging floodwaters. All the water was subdued, the floodwaters quieted down. The world no longer churned, returning to tranquility, and the swirling waves silently settled down. Even the strange great whirlpool dissipated. Master Uncle! Xiang Beifei immediately broke free from the whirlpool, emerged from the water, circled twice above the flood, and then dove back in, quickly finding Luo Shanyu struggling in the water. He sped towards Master Uncle, but became cautious again because that sense of crisis returned. Right behind Master Uncle, he quickly hurled the brick over. Bang! The brick sliced through the water like it was unchallenged, striking into it, and that intense sense of crisis vanished into the vast water flow. Are you all right? Xiang Beifei urgently pulled Luo Shanyu up. I'm fine. Luo Shanyu exhaled, shaking his head. Let's leave here first. Xiang Beifei took him and immediately dashed out of the flood, then searched around, shouting, Li! Boom! With an explosive sound, the water surface blew open, and a figure burst out from the flood. It was Li Qianluo. Damn it! Dared to ambush me. How dare you not let me hit you? Li Qianluo's fist shimmered with golden light, throwing a punch into the air. Bam! The air seemed to be struck by something, erupting instantly, setting off ripples. I'm here. I'm here. I'm fine. Li Qianluo rubbed his fist, grumbling. It seemed like there was something trying to ambush just now, but I beat it away. As long as you are fine. Xiang Beifei and the others quickly gathered around. But he looked around again, finding he couldn't connect with Xiaohe. Even using their unique contact method didn't work. Xiaohe seemed to have been swept away somewhere unknown. Where is Xiaohe? Did you see him? Xiang Beifei asked. Both Li Qianluo and Luo Shanyu shook their heads. This doesn't look good. Xiang Beifei's heart sank. Xiaohe, while usually mischievous, had always been measured in his actions, and was rarely restrained by anything. Yet now there was no sign of Xiaohe. He stood above the great flood, swiftly searching for Xiaohe's presence, but all around was a vast white, filled with floodwaters, the edge nowhere in sight. Still can't see Xiaohe. What do we do now? Li Qianluo asked. Xiang Beifei furrowed his brow, but just then, Xiaohe's voice suddenly rang out on Xiang Beifei's side. Feifei, over here. But the words abruptly stopped, as if something had blocked it again, and then that sudden sense of crisis returned. He immediately looked towards the left, where it seemed a stronger crisis was lurking and constantly gathering. Yet Xiaohe's presence seemed to be coming from there. It's dangerous over there. You wait here. I'll take a look. Xiang Beifei said. Wait. I'll go with you. I can sense that thing too. Li Qianluo hurriedly said. Right. For now it's best not to split up again. Luo Shanyu said. Fine. Stick close to me. Xiang Beifei wasn't too worried about Li Qianluo, but he was more concerned about Luo Shanyu, as Luo Shanyu clearly couldn't sense this crisis. They immediately flew towards that side, the vast waters quickly revealing their end. Where the floodwaters seemed to flow downwards, looking far from the sky, they saw a huge crater, all the waters flowing into this pit. The closer they got here, the more intense the invisible crisis became. This time Xiang Beifei tightly controlled Yu's monument, feeling that without it, the floodwaters might rise again. Approaching the center of the watery area, looking down into the pit, they discovered 3 figures below. Upon closer inspection, they were unexpectedly the same 3 Xiongtu tribe members from before. These 3 Xiongtu race members stood there, their feet still on that swamp. This swamp remained unscathed even amidst the overwhelming floodwaters, as the surrounding floodwater disappeared into the swamp, as if it could never be filled. At this moment, the 3 Xiongtu race members seemed changed. Their aura became eerie, though indescribably so, and then all suddenly looked towards Xiang Beifei. Their eyes gleamed with a chilling light, making one's blood run cold. They've come back to life? Luo Shanyu exclaimed in surprise. It's probably not them inside those bodies. Xiang Beifei replied in a deep voice. The 3 Xiongtu race members looked at Xiang Beifei, and suddenly, a sinister smile appeared at the corners of their mouths as they fiercely flung the scroll in their hands. Buzz! The scroll floated into the air and unfurled, seemingly filled with countless bizarre black shadows that quickly disappeared into the air. And then the scroll shattered. Along with the scroll, the 3 Xiongtu race members also shattered, their bodies turning into a mist of blood. But this mist did not dissipate. Instead, it gathered toward the ground swamp, and soon, a terrifying presence emanated from within the swamp. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. The swamp continuously bubbled. Xiang Beifei stared intently at those bubbles, sensing a strong danger within the swamp, as if countless unseen things were surrounding these bubbles, waiting for something. The atmosphere felt deathly still, and Xiang Beifei didn't know what he was waiting for. But the terrifying presence grew even stronger, as if something was about to crawl out from below. Plop! A massive bubble suddenly surged up from the swamp, and then a head emerged. The head was dark, covered in mud. When it appeared, Xiang Beifei and the others stalled, becoming alert. Xiaohe! Xiang Beifei recognized the dark little head and instantly breathed a sigh of relief. But after climbing out of the swamp, Xiaohe wiped the mud off his face and immediately shouted, Run! Run! Big monster! He leaped into the air like a mud monkey, darting over to them, shouting to Xiang Beifei as he ran. The words had barely left his mouth when the swamp below suddenly erupted entirely. It was as if something unseen squeezed through the mud, flipping open the swamp, accompanied by the whistling sound of splattering earth. The terrifying danger locked onto Xiaohe and Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei gasped. He still couldn't see this thing, but the terrifying aura made him almost tremble with fear. What is this thing? How is it so powerful? Li Qianluo exclaimed. Where is it? I don't feel anything, Luo Shanyu asked solemnly. He still hadn't sensed the so-called danger. In his perception, the swamp seemed ordinary, and even when the mud splattered, it didn't feel abrupt. Luo Shanyu's perception was just like the Xiongtou race recipients without change. But Xiang Beifei didn't have time to explain, for the unseen aura suddenly rushed toward them, crashing down fiercely. The strike was incredibly terrifying, as if bearing the power of the ancestral Dao realm, nearly making Xiang Beifei's heart skip a beat. The unseen monster that had been attacking them earlier was just an appetizer. This was the main course, and even Xiang Beifei couldn't see this main course. Without any hesitation, Xiang Beifei immediately swung the brick up. Bam! But this time, the brick didn't send the thing flying. Instead, the brick almost slipped from his hand. By this time, Xiaohe, covered in mud, had already pounced into Xiang Beifei's arms, gripping his clothes tightly and panting heavily. Xiang Beifei immediately took the others and fled backwards, stepping on the mustard seed in palm, moving quickly, disregarding everything else, pushing his speed to the highest level. Fortunately, the greatest strength of mustard seed in palm was flight, and in his desperate boost it almost sparked in the air, but luckily, they managed to put some distance. Whoosh! The invisible terrifying monster in the sky still chased them fiercely, without slowing down in the least, and Xiang Beifei heard no roaring. Yet he dared not stop. Xiaohe, what is this thing? Xiang Beifei shouted. I don't know. At this point, Xiaohe still looked like a child, shaking off the mud, flinging mud everywhere. But as they sped, the mud was blown away, though he still looked disheveled and pathetic. Then why did you go into the swamp? I got swept over after, felt the bubbles were fun, poked one, and ended up being pulled in, scared me to death. Xiaohe patted his little heart. Scared you to death? Aren't you fearless? Era interjected. Many things in the swamp were biting me. I couldn't see them, but they hurt. I got angry and bit back, making the unseen things howl, and then I ran out. Xiaohe revealed two pointed sharp teeth, striking a fierce pose. Xiang Beifei, this little guy just went head-to-head with them, fortunately thick-skinned, not bitten through. But before he could say anything more, the strong sense of danger surged back, launching another attack. He could have dodged it, but if he did, Li Qianluo and Luo Shanyu behind him would take the hit, and with their abilities they likely couldn't withstand it. Damn it! The invisible monster's attack was too fast, allowing him little time to react, so he gritted his teeth, not dodging, bearing the blow head-on. Bang! Xiang Beifei was struck, feeling his bones shattering, his spirit almost cracked. Xiao Bei! Li Qianluo cried out. She and Luo Shanyu on Xiang Beifei's opposite side, unharmed, with Xiang Beifei taking the terrifying attack alone. She quickly pulled Xiang Beifei behind her, turned, and looked upward, angrily scolding. Unforgivable, hitting Xiao Bei! Buzz! Her eyes suddenly ignited with golden flames. These golden flames flickered ahead, gathering into a 9-petaled golden lotus at her feet, each petal spinning rapidly, a golden shadow rising behind her, pure and dignified like an ancient deity, solemn and imposing. 9 lotus time! She fiercely launched a palm strike forward. This palm, glowing gold, seemingly blossomed with 1,000 lotuses, illuminating the void. Simultaneously, the ancient deity's apparition also struck a palm. Boom! Waves of ripples radiated out, and the lotus seemed to suppress the void. Each petal like a small world, the invisible monster caught up in the lotuses. The reason for this certainty was the vanished intense danger, appearing within the lotus. Each lotus bloomed and withered, spring passing and autumn coming, as if experiencing every life stage rapidly. However, with its transformations, each lotus small world also endured the passage of time. Amazing! Xiang Beifei exclaimed at Li Qianluo before him, who exerted her full strength, with cultivation also at an advanced stage. This girl often didn't seem to practice, yet her realm mysteriously advanced rapidly, not falling behind Xiang Beifei much. More astonishing was the golden lotus worlds, where time ripples like sharp blades continuously sliced through. He could distinctly perceive the power of these lotus blades. Getting caught by these lotus time blades would impact the flow of time. In other words, if a person were ensnared within these 9 lotus times, Li Qianluo could completely alter each body part into different time states of the opponent.